No problem.
Yeah. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Canadian Roundtable. I'm still getting used to saying that. I still, it's a good name. What do you think, Chris, for the Canadian Roundtable?
It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but
Right.
it's the best name we have right now. So let's
Yeah.
keep rolling with it.
TCR for short.
Yeah.
TCR, whatever. That's what people can call it. But welcome everybody. Hey, Jesus, how's it going? Yeah, I don't know. We got a lot of different topics tonight. There's that Sexstrike that is appearing on Twitter right now, as well as a lot of other just kind of random Canadian news, as well as like the media that is failing right now, like CNN losing close to, I think, 100 people or 300 people, and as well as Vice Media. Apparently Disney has come out, said it's been like a big waste of money. But, I want to start mainly with the Sexstrike and Alyssa Milano. So I want to go through probably just a couple of her tweets. And if you guys don't know about it, she did this whole Sexstrike to, because men aren't supporting birth control or abortions, right? Am I right, Chris? Something like that?
Yeah, she's gone too far with this one.
But it's like she was like, oh, we're just gonna stop having sex with men, and this is already backfiring. And a bunch of SJWs are now like, oh, look at her. No, we need to have as much sex as we want, and we should just be allowed to abort babies at 9 months and do all this shit or whatever. So now she's like fighting with these leftists and stuff. But I'll go through a couple of the tweets because they're pretty funny. But I'll just share the screen here. But so it starts off like, Alyssa Milano, Sexstrike seems like a good idea to some, but others suggest it's a disservice to women's rights efforts. So you go down, you'll see some of the responses. I'm a liberal and pro-choice, but I think Alyssa Milano should just stop championing women's causes. She is making us ridiculous. If you want change, go after the people who are making the laws. So, a lot of them are just saying that no, I want to have sex and be a degenerate. Just go after the people that make the laws and vote them out. Like this is pretty much their response. And like, this Andre guy, I don't know if anybody knows who this is, but this guy's a Canadian guy. I think he works for, McLean's. But if you read his articles, they're just they're terrible, and they're all SJW nonsense. And I don't even understand this. I don't understand it. Still reeling that Alyssa Milano thought the white women who get married on plantations were going to put down their parasols and walk out of their mega church strawberry socials to join a nationwide sex strike.
Well, he's referring to, because the states that are passing these laws, there are specific states in the U.S., Republican-run states. The last one, I think, was Georgia, and I'm actually really shocked that they did it. Basically, to ban abortions after cardiac activity is detected about 6 weeks into pregnancy, before many women know they're pregnant. So that's what this is about. And so what she's saying is, she's referring there to conservatives. She's referring to kind of Christian conservatives, white women born in the South, born on plantations, going to put down their parasols like the life of leisure and walk out of their mega church socials to join a nationwide sex strike. Because those people aren't, she's saying these people aren't the ones who are impacted by the issue. So why would they care about her sex strike? So anyways, that's what I think Andre's trying to do there. Yeah.
Right. And it's funny. And this is what white liberals, women, feminists really need to fucking understand. It's like, this is what he thinks of you, Alyssa Milano. He doesn't think of you as a fucking whatever, right? Like she's telling, or I guess she wants conservative women to stop having sex with their men, to support reproductive rights or something. But this is just fucking stupid. And a lot of conservatives were like, good, do abstinence then. That's a good thing. We want you to do this. But a lot of these people, like, they were actually just shitting on her. I agree with Alyssa Milano. People need to stop having sex. Okay, not this one. Okay, this one was funny right here. So a sex strike also gives the impression that the primary function of a woman is as a body for heterosexual men to have sex with. I'm not down with that. So you're down with women. This is Alyssa Milano. So you're down with women getting the death penalty for obtaining health care, getting life in prison, reimplantation of ectopic pregnancies, Roe v. Wade being overturned, which it won't, as long as they try to roll back our rights. Every time we have sex, we risk jail time. Down with that. Not sure I get the hostility because I disagree on the sex strike. I personally don't believe it will do anything to solve the issue. It only serves to reinforce sexist stereotypes. The unglamorous heavy lifting of grassroots activism is the answer, just like with gun safety. So, you know, it's funny her response to this. It's like, so she that typical thing that happened with Jordan Peterson when he was arguing with that one lady on the BBC. So you disagree with me. So this is what you're saying, that you want all these women to die and go to prison.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
She's like, no,
they just go from 0 to 60 with this stuff. Like there's no nuance. There's no measure. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I just disagree with your sex strike, you idiot. This exactly. 1, men are not the only ones who enjoy sex. 2, sex strikes reinforce the idea that our only value as women is our ability to provide gratification to men. Have you read these bills? That's exactly what these bills are stating. We have the power of choice before pregnancy. I'm going to exercise that choice. See, this is the thing, you know, women have a lot of fucking power, right? Because they do make the choice to choose between a man and a woman, or I mean, between men. And that's always been the case. People think that history, like men just like raped women whenever they wanted, you know, sex and shit. And it's like, you know, that's not exactly how fucking history went down. Like there was a lot of choice that happened on the women's part. Like even look at nature, like fucking, even animals a lot of times don't rape other animals. Like they have to like let that female, the female has to oftentimes like allow them to mate with them, right? Like a lot of the times that is the way it works. But so women have always had this power, and that has shaped the way that men are. You know, men are aggressive. Men are the ways that they are in order to attract females, to attract women. So if women are mad about the way men are, then you kind of have to blame yourselves, right? But the thing is, the problem is they shouldn't be mad the way things are. They've been convinced to be mad the way men are, and they think that this is bad. We need to make them feminine, right? You know, less masculine, and you know that is my opinion, is because they're trying to emasculate men from the West, and they're trying to make us feminine, just like what they're doing with all this trans stuff lately. Which I got a couple things up about that, which is just, you know, it's gone way too far, and it seems like most streams we talk about the trans thing and this stuff, but it's just because it gets brought up so often, right? You know, it's just the news constantly. Oh, Fredrick's here.
Fredrick joined.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Very good, man.
Yeah, it's okay. I met Rants today, and Mike from.
Oh, that guy's a fucking racist, man.
And he's in the chat. Hi, Rants.
I brought them. You know, it was good. It was a good sight to see. There were a lot of people honking on the highway. I went to get the folks there some coffee and some Timbits, and then the cops were giving them a hard time. They were really harassing them, and then they carted me.
If you don't mind, for my benefit, what are you talking about? Because I've been chasing kids all day. So what's going on? What happened today?
Oh no, they were having kind of like yellow vest gathering, and they're just have some signs, you know, throwing up some Canadian flags on the bridge near Vaughan Mills Mall. So I went to offer my support, brought them some coffee. The cops they were harassing them, and then they started harassing me. I was just like, I'm bringing these people coffee, and the guy's like, yeah, well, you know, you're with this organization. And I said, what organization? What are you talking about? Just bringing coffee for these people. You know, I like their message. And then, it carted me, you know, it's weird. I went on my way.
So
apparently you can't bring coffee for people.
Did Rants Derek take pictures of you?
I think his girlfriend was there. She didn't get me in the shot, so that was good.
Oh, okay.
Well, don't worry. The cops definitely took pictures of you. So if you were there,
Right.
So, yeah.
But yeah, no. Yeah, it was good. So it was pretty good. They pretty lively group. Mike seems like a super cool guy. Rants seems like a cool guy. So,
Well,
yeah.
they seem like cool guys.
Well, they are cool guys. I'm not saying seem. They are cool guys, right?
So I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So, what's your opinion on the sex strike with Alyssa Milano? And do you think that's a good strategy on her part?
Well, at my work, we're working on new technology called sex robots, so they can go on their strike all they want.
Right, that's the thing. That's the new thing, right? There's going to be sex robots and there's porno. That back in the day, when they used to do this in like the 40s and whenever they did this, like throughout history, like it worked better then because there wasn't these sex robots and all these new things for people to just. It's like they're already not having sex with you because they're in their rooms jerking off.
Right. So I mean, even the examples. So that point she gave, I found another article here, and just look at the example she gives. She says she noted that women have historically withheld sex to protest or advocate for political reform. She decided how Iroquois women refused to have sex in the 1600s as a way to stop unregulated welfare. Most recently, she noticed that Liberian women used a sex stripe in 2003 to demand an end to a long-running civil war. Look, it's 2019. There's the internet, and there's a variety of lubricants. Like, there's no need for if somebody really wants to have sex. It's definitely doable. Like, they don't need to. The impact of a sex strike is less now than ever before. So, sure, Alyssa, go ahead.
Well, there was that little Jewish director. I forgot his name. The one that married his cousin or his adopted daughter. Or
what's his name?
Whatever. The
creepy little.
Speaking of Jew.
Anyway, hold on.
Got Rants Derek on the chat.
Yeah, he's been on there for a while.
Join.
Yeah, Woody Allen is who you're talking to.
Woody Allen, yeah. He once said masturbation is sex with someone you love. So, go on strike. I don't care.
So you got to meet Fredrick there, Rants, or what?
I did. I finally got to see he's a real person, and it should make it easier for me to identify him and dox him if I ever want to.
Yeah,
he's not a real person. He's actually a sex robot. So yeah, that's Fred.
Well,
he's an android.
After seeing him, I'm not sure he's going to make that much.
No, I didn't say he was a good one. I just said, you got to have a job. Everybody's got to do something for a living.
As long as you guys enjoyed the coffee. Did they give you a hard time? Did they kick you off the bridge?
Well, I'm going to do a video about it because we actually have like the everything on tape. Even me getting aggressive and everybody getting a little angry. I'm really disappointed in the way that the Ontario Provincial Police was treating us, because the York Simcoe Police, when they came by, they gave us the thumbs up and told us they came by to actually make sure that we were not breaking any laws. So they came by and they basically warned us that the OPP was going to come by. So it's very strange that the OPP came out guns blazing, trying to get us to move and do what they say and take our IDs and all this stuff. And we weren't moving. We didn't move.
Yeah, they carded me. They were like, I just said, I'm just bringing coffee for the guys here. Like, and oh, you're part of this organization. I said, what organization are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. And then he's like, if anything happens, it's your fault. And I said, fault for what? Like, what are you being judge and jury or all of a sudden, right? And I just wanted to get out of there. Like, it was intentional harassment and intimidation.
He tried to do the same thing to me, and I've got a clip of it here if you guys would like to see it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, play it.
Let me just get it queued up. This is the clip that Lee Stewie actually sent me. She had a few clips where the police were actually harassing her and pushing her and boxing her out of the way. Sort of like very strange behavior, I thought.
So you're saying there's two separate police forces that went there? There was which one was being nice to you?
Well, here in Ontario, we have local police and the Ontario provincial police.
Right.
The Ontario provincial police take care of the highways, and the York Simcoe take care of domestics and your local calls and stuff like that. So this guy here is the Ontario provincial police. He's a sergeant. He threatens me. You can't see me, but you can hear my voice. And I'll let the video speak for itself here now.
You're going to give up your name, sir? Well, then you're not going to accept responsibility for your actions? I'm not doing that. One crash, I'm coming for you. Oh, shit. One crash for one guy holding up a sign? Come on. Your arguments are getting really weird how they can all really understand and read it. I'm hearing hogs sit there.
After that, he ended up, they had to regroup and rethink exactly what they were bothering us about, because we were within our legal rights to be protesting. I mean,
no, you're not. You're white.
Mike, I got to give it up to Mike from the Forgotten Canadians. He kept his composure and didn't let it get out of hand. He just asked questions like, are we doing anything illegal? Well, you're not supposed to be on the highway. You're not supposed to this, but are we doing anything illegal?
You're not even on the highway. You guys were off like on the side road where the mall is.
Yeah, he wouldn't answer the question. And I do have to say that the Hells Angels actually showed us more respect today than the Ontario Provincial Police.
Cool.
Isn't that funny? You know, the Hells Angels. And that's what it's going to be in the future, it seems like. And like the police, they don't have our back. Have they ever had our back? Like, I was just reading a story, and like, you'd look at the UK and what happened in the UK with all those girls being raped and stuff. And, you know, the police just looked the other way. And I know that's a different police force, but really, you know, look at how they handled the Mark Norman case, and how they're clearly culpable. They're clearly politically motivated for the Trudeau and the left in the Liberal administration. So it makes perfect sense, especially in Ontario or Toronto or wherever the hell you were. Those people are probably going to be more left-leaning to begin with. So yeah, they're probably going to hassle you because you're a yellow vest, and that's been smeared as a right-wing, anti-immigrant, racist group of people or whatever, right? So yeah,
that your Simcoe police, like, I want to make it clear, they came by because they got a call to the Ontario Provincial Police. So they just came by to see what we were doing. They even gave us the thumbs up, said, we just want to make sure you're not doing anything illegal, and we'll be on our way. Like, they were totally happy with us. It was one white cop, one brown cop. Both seemed like they were raised in Canada. But the three people that had come up after that, you had old Whitey that tried to take charge, and there was a young Muslim cop, and you could tell by his beard.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
He was shaking. He was like shaking and pacing and walking around and stuff like that, making everybody nervous and walking on our flank and stuff like that. It was really creepy. He was the one stepping in front of Lee Stewie's camera and pushing her out of the way and stuff.
Yeah, that's the same guy that approached me, and he was like, I said,
Really?
I'm not like, what? Yeah, and I said, you know, I'm just bringing the folks here coffee. It's not a big deal. And I said, and he came to me, he says, it's a big deal to me. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, they were really using their power, it seemed like, and I'm very disappointed in the police. I've always gotten along with them. As soon as they come up, I'm the first to walk over, say, hey, how you doing, and try and diffuse any sort of negative feelings that could turn the situation into something bad. So that's usually how I am with the police. I have no problem obeying a direct order if I'm breaking the law or they're trying to prevent somebody from being hurt. But we really weren't doing anything wrong, and that upset them. And the way it ended, actually, is that once they went back, regrouped, and didn't know what to do, they couldn't move us. They ended up having to move a car from either side of us to protect us. And they had to stand there and shut up.
Well, do your fucking job, right? That's what they're there to protect you. They're there to serve the public. But I think they start some of them start to lose this, and they're like, "Wait, you're here to respect me. You're supposed to respect my authority. When I tell you to move, you move." It's like, no, we have every right to protest here. This is supposed to be a free fucking country, right? But no, it's like you want us to be like South America or something, where the police have, you know, all power, right?
I honestly believe that the only reason they really tried to have us move was because they didn't want to have to stand there on the bridge and guard us all day.
Yeah, they're just lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys weren't even in the way or anything. You were just, the traffic was flowing smoothly. People were kind of slowing down and, you know, honking and stuff. And there was a lot of people supportive, especially when I was going under the underpass to get you guys coffee. There was no issue with traffic flow. You guys were off on the sidewalk. So,
yeah, I can even see that from the video. They were off on the sidewalk. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. It's not like what happens with the Aboriginal parades here, where they literally go in the middle of the street and walk in the main street and like walk down the middle of fucking Main Street and stop traffic. And you're like,
oh, never mind that. When there was that, what was it, 2015, 2014, when we had those people from Sri Lanka, what are they, the Muslims, freedom fighters, the what are they called? Tamil Tigers. And they completely blocked off the whole Don Valley Parkway, the upper deck.
I think it was the Gardner. It was the Gardner.
It was the Gardner. Yeah.
And
when they did their strike around the airport, they shut basically the entire basket weave down. For those of you that don't know, the basket weave is a conjunction in Toronto where the 401, the 400, and the Allen all kind of meet in the same area. And that's basically, when you look at it from a helicopter view, it looks like a basket weave. So maybe that's actually where we should try and do the most damage next time, because we can just go one overpass to the next and create chaos.
I'll make sure to bring you guys coffee again, get carded.
And we'll just make sure to ruin everybody's trip on the way home from Muskoka on Sunday.
Yeah, it's such a tough thing to do too, right? Like protesting. Sometimes it's like, okay, do you go in the middle of the street and stop cars to get their attention?
Well, I think what we did today was really effective. I mean,
right.
Of course, the pattern was kind of something like this: honk, honk, finger, honk, honk, wave. And then every once in a while you get some guy hanging out of his car, fuck Trudeau!
Yeah.
But it's honestly, it was a really positive feeling. It's a family-friendly event. Everybody's making sure they're neat and tidy, and it was really the cops that came there and caused the disturbance.
Isn't that fucked up? Isn't that kind of what happened in like Charlottesville to some extent? Like, obviously not to the extent, but they're the ones that pushed the two groups together and and actually funneled them together and pretty much caused that whole thing, right? So it's like, yeah, man, that's why I advocate for more power in the hands of civilians, because, you know, you can't trust people like police to protect you. I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm not saying we don't necessarily need them either. Don't need a police force, but, you know, people need that ability to protect themselves, especially if you're living in the country and stuff where cops cannot get to your home in a short amount of time. It take them 20, 30, 40 minutes to get to your place. You know, you need a gun.
People haven't really come to the realization here yet that if you were to have a First Amendment, you would need less cops.
Right. Less money, but exactly right. But then the government would get smaller and their power would diminish. You know, they would need less of our money, less of our dependency on them. Because the more self-sustainable we are, the less the more we're gonna understand we don't need them, and the less bureaucracy we're gonna need, right? In general.
Absolutely, what they do not want is us being self-reliant and self-dependent, living off the grid. They want us sucking at the government teat at like everybody else, so that when they cut it off, we're desperate and we'll do anything they want.
Right. Oh, I see the Forgotten Canadians in the chat. Hey, if you want to come on the channel, you can if you want. There, I'll throw.
Yeah, I'd like to bring him on and talk about that video he did.
Nobody cares what you want.
The Indians that they're pushing these communities into, right? So, kind of interested in that.
No, I'm sorry, Fredrick.
No,
I got Tourette's, man. It was a good, But hold on, I sent him the chat there. So I sent it in the chat there, buddy, and so you can just click on it in there. Nobody else join because I'll boot you. Okay, I'll boot you.
Somebody
unless it's Julie Mora, then she can join.
A boot? You're gonna boot?
I said boot. I didn't say a boot. I say about.
Sorry, I thought you were speaking Chinese.
I'm not from fucking Ontario. Jesus Christ.
Lauren Southern in the chat there was saying they hand out tickets, they self-finance, and that's the truth. You know, when they start coming out with self-driving cars, what are they going to do? How are they going to finance their their mobster, their gang, whatever you want to call it? How are they going to finance their gang activity if they can't hand out tickets and give out all these fines that essentially fund the police office?
They'll ticket you for not having camera systems, and they'll ticket you for not having a car that is in the system that has emissions below a certain level. That is, as you said, Rants. They want you to be sucking at their teeth. So anything that encourages you to not be independent, they're going to penalize you for it.
Take one of our freedoms away would be self-driving cars, and if they're all self-driving, they're all obviously going the limit. So what are the cops going to do to raise their finances? You know what I mean? Like the cameras won't be able to pick them up.
Yeah, true.
Well, you could have like what the UK has with their TV tax. You'll have a system tax, right? They'll put a tax for you to use the system for them to track you.
Yeah. Something and even with the cops, I'm sure they're going to replace them with robots at some point. We're going to get RoboCop happening here. Definitely.
They'll certainly have more personality.
Yeah.
What was that?
Better judgment.
Was it Elysium, where they basically have parole officers or like a fucking drive-through window McDonald's cop type thing that you just talk to a speaker and just doles out your punishment basically, and then when they want to send something to collect you, they'll send out robots like Johnny 5 is alive.
Nice. Johnny 5. That's
an age test for you guys to see how old you are.
Yeah. I'm looking more towards like the second Judge Dredd movie. I think that's kind of what it's going to be, but we'll see. It's going to stack everybody up into like a super city and we'll go from there.
Judge, jury, and execution are all in the same public servant.
There you go. See, that's efficiency. That's, all in one, I am the law. Yeah.
Well, if they were to follow the Constitution by any means, then everybody should be their own judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah. Constitution? Do we still have
that? Judging each other, shooting each other. Pew, pew,
pew. Yeah, those are the good old days, I think, when we could just deliver the law like that. Somebody crosses you and you bring them out for a duel.
Slap them with your glove. Say, "I demand satisfaction."
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, in the Wild Wild West, I don't think as towns started to grow, people were less inclined to get involved in violent acts because you knew the repercussions, right? Like how many people would actually want to put themselves into a gunslinger whose profession is gunslinging? That guy is like, I'm not going to cross him. I'm just going to let him be, right? So people kind of stayed, to each his own. Right?
Yeah, I think there's so much propaganda about just so many different things in history that you always have to revisit them and be like, oh, wait, maybe it wasn't as bad as people said, and it was actually like pretty good or something. And, the leftists or whoever have just kind of manipulated the history to make you think that, less government was a bad thing, because that's essentially what it was. Maybe it was like much more prosperous to a large extent, but I don't know the history, like I'm saying, but I do notice that where, you think something, and the more we learn nowadays, we find out there like the media is always lying to us. you know, everything, the history is being misrepresented, that you do have to take double looks at things or re-examine what you think you always thought was true, because a lot of the times it isn't. And you go and you really, oh wait, this is all bullshit. And it a lot of times it's pretty easy to find too. It's like, you know, people just blatantly lie on like the History Network, and you're like, wait, that's not true. Like, you look that up and you're like, just kind of like reference that, and you're like, you know, like, that's not really accurate. Like, even the History Channel, the other day I was watching it on something, and it said that Constantine was converted as a Christian, right? And I'm pretty sure he may have just converted at the very, very, very end of his life, right? If anything. So, but it was really his son that was more of like the convert and shit. So I was just kind of like, you know, I was like, you know, it says even little things like that, right? And you're like, you got to kind of like look that up more to see.
I was going to do the same thing and just, you know, convert just before I die, so I'd be absolved of all my sins. You can still do that, right?
Yeah, you could. If the thing is,
you're
like,
the expert in this.
you'd have to obviously believe, right? Though you can't just like say it and just be like, you know, you'd have to like legitimately believe and like open your heart up to God right before your death or something. Like, it's possible, right? I don't know, Chris. What's your opinion on that? Hello.
No,
Chris.
Necessary.
Chris, you're I think God shut your mic down for a minute. You there?
Yeah. He was angry.
Yeah.
Your mic is a little bit scratchy too, by the way.
Mine?
Fredrick.
Oh, is
Yeah.
it?
Well, it was for a little second there, but yeah, like I don't know. Oh,
I was just looking at myself in the picture there. I look like I got some sun today. Look like a raccoon.
yeah, fucking. It's been such a shitty spring. I don't know how it was for you guys in your part of Canada, but for me, today was the first nice day like all year long. Pretty much every day has been cloudy and windy and cold. Like, when is this bitter winter ever going to end? But I am in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, right, where it's like just a hell zone of fucking weather continuously, right?
No, we've had a couple of nice days. It was even nice for an entire week here, but for the most part, it's been crappy. Today was the first day I got. Today was the first day I got any sun, so that's a plus for anybody that wants to try and come out to the Yellow Vest protest. You'll get a bit of a tan.
So sorry, 1 second. Jesus said, Lilian Gish, silent film star. Is that who you are not referencing in your description? Well, I have no idea. Did I misspell her name or something? I don't know. That's who I was talking about. I'm pretty sure that's who you're referencing.
How about we talk about Caitlyn Jenner and how she's going to pose for Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition? Yeah.
No, you're joking, right?
I will look for it before we.
No, I don't want to see it. No.
Nope.
Did he shave?
I believe you.
Did he shave?
We all believe you.
Chris really wants to see
that.
Chris doesn't believe us.
No. I believe you. I believe you. It's fine. I don't want to see it. I'm good.
Well, like what? Like Sports Illustrated, and like I've seen something like that. This guy was explaining cultural Marxism and how essentially they're just trying to make everything like we once thought beautiful, like not beautiful. And you see in the Sports Illustrated, it's like 300-pound women now, and transsexuals. Like, this is the new beauty. You know, your old standard of beauty that was pretty much the same throughout generations and millennias. Oh, that's all wrong and patriarchal and racist. You should like fat women with purple hair with nose rings and a gimped leg. Like, that's what you should be attracted to, and you should have sex with a transsexual as well, right? And they're like, they're messing with our fucking brains, right? And like, I forget. Go ahead, sorry, go, Fredrick.
No, on that note, I was talking to you earlier. If you remember today, I was telling you this
I know,
guy
I was
James
thinking about
Charles,
that.
right? Yeah, and he has like 15 million views. And my daughter came down. She's like, "Oh, what are you listening to?" And I'm like, "I'm watching Revenge of the Sith." They're talking about how James Charles was trying to influence a kid to have sex with him, even the kid wasn't gay or anything like that, right? And it's just, oh yeah, a lot of the kids at the school, they all follow this guy. The boys are always asking the girls for makeup, and I keep telling them, why are you guys doing that? What's wrong with you? And I said, really? He says, oh yeah, they all follow him. So it's women are going to be in trouble. They're not going to be able to find a man.
By the way, Boingo Bear for $2 says we don't want to see it. So he doesn't want to see it. The chat doesn't want to see it.
Thank you, Bongaware.
I think.
All right, fair enough.
I saw it. I just clicked to this. You son of a bitch. Let them keep going. They're falling on their swords. Yeah, right. That's pretty much what's happening. And I think a lot of people like this constant pushing trends and all this stuff on people. I think it's going to backfire because most people, I don't think, have been brainwashed enough to completely assimilate it. Maybe the younger generations, if they're a little bit easier to do that too, because they're young and naive and stuff, and you can be like, oh, this is just normal. Right, this is what happened throughout all of history. Right, you convince a 15-year-old to do that, but or people a little bit older, a little bit younger. But
well, I think it's also I've been trying to kind of think about what is the push for all this, and I think I heard once, and there was an article on it too, about how gays can't find mates because there's just not enough pool for them, right? So if they could switch and change the society, then they'll have a greater pool of access to mates. And I think this could be one reason why they're pushing all this shit. The obvious reasons is to destroy the nuclear family.
I think that's the bigger thing. Like I'm not gonna put the blame on gay people and be like they're trying to create more gays so they have more partners to bang. Like I think a lot of gay dudes do that. Like they try to turn straight dudes into gay dudes, like that person you're talking about, that guy, that makeup artist. That one girl that made him lose all these subscribers was because he was telling her that that's what he tries to do. He's like, oh, I try to get straight guys and try to turn them gay and this all this crap, right? And that guy's like a degenerate too, right? Like he was saying in front of his parents, like a dinner table in front of that girl, like, oh, he wants to bang this dude, and his dad's like, oh, son, you're funny. And you're like, what the hell is wrong with society right now? But we got these people being promoted on magazines to our little kids, and it's clown town. That's what we're in. We're in clown town. That's the only explanation, and that's why that meme is so good, because whenever I see stuff like that, now I just hear clown music playing in my head, like some clown music, because I'm like, this is the only way to explain this, right? It's like people have lost their minds. But I don't really know what else to say about that, to be honest. But I don't know. I got a few other topics that I want to bring up too. Is did you guys hear about the Veterans Affairs when they showed a video with Nazis? Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah, I did hear about that actually, and I saw a picture of it. They weren't even weren't even using Canadian soldiers. They ended up using Nazis. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, like the Veterans Affairs bungles VE Day video by showing Nazis. So, like, how inept is the Trudeau fucking government shit? To like,
is it inept or is it a Freudian slip?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is Rents.
Yeah, right. Maybe they're just trolling us. They're like,
"This National Socialist strike again."
Right. Maybe. Yeah.
There's more descendants of Nazis in our current government than there are anywhere else in the world, really. Like, you can look at the Jesuit movement from Trudeau's father in the 70s. or where the CIA adopted MK Ultra programs that have been running inside of Canada, Operation Paperclip, Walt Disney. I mean, there's an entire colony of Nazis that escaped to Argentina and set up their own colonies. Like,
Right.
there's German-speaking white colonies in Argentina, and nobody mentions it. Nobody talks about it.
Yep. And they look, and those colonies look like they could be in the middle of the German countryside, like the architecture, the beer steins, everything. Yeah, absolutely.
They're some of the biggest ethnic group of Germans, I think, in the world. Like, that's where the most technically German DNA exists, other than, like, I think Germany, or there might even be more, right? Because of, like, the diaspora or whatever, right? And like that, yeah, that is pretty crazy. And there is it almost, you know, that war, World War II, it was really just fascist against the communist. And who really won? Who really lost? Right? Like, a lot of these, scientists and stuff, like the Nazis, we brought them over, we took them anyways. And then the communists, they infiltrated us afterwards as well too. You know, if like what's his name? Karl, or was that Marxism? Not Marxism, but what was that guy that was sorry?
Yuri Bezmenov.
No, he was Mackenzie, or not Mackenzie, but McCarthyism, right? When they were trying to root out all of the communists that were in the government at the time. And now that guy is considered like a crazy lunatic. But like I said, like, that's one of the things you need to like re-examine in history. It's like, well, was he crazy? Right. Was there a bunch of communists in our government? Because it sure seems like there is now. You know, they're all over the place.
Somebody else rewrote history.
You're cutting out a little bit there, Derek.
Well, I was just saying somebody else was the victor and they wrote history, so they wrote him off as a crazy person.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I think
can you hear anything?
Oh yeah, you were kind of grating up a little bit on my end. Maybe is it good for everybody else?
Yeah, he sounded fine to me.
Yeah, I agree. He sounded fine to me as well.
Yeah, I think we're okay. But I was done talking anyway if you wanted to move on.
Okay, sorry. No, I was just maybe it's my end because it was sounding kind of like sketchy for Chris. Chris and Fredrick, say something for a second.
Hi. How's it going?
How are you?
Sending you bagged milk for your birthday.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, it's all right. It was just sounding a little bit scratchy for some reason, but I'm not really sure why. 1 second. Faye Knox, help Mike. Mike, it says I have no invite in my hangout room. In your hangout, Mike, here, I'm gonna look in the chat. Look in the chat and click on the hangout in the chat. I just posted it right there, and just click on that one, like right in the chat, and just click on it, and it should bring you right to it. Stop being a woman, AJ. How the hell am I being a woman? Get off my channel, Falcor. Fuck off. AJ, the Forgotten Canadian, says he has no invites in his hangout room. Okay, well, I don't know. Hangout room? I'm not really sure.
Mike, if you just copy and paste the link, put it into the URL field in your browser, your Chrome browser, should open and take you directly. And then you would, it's going to ask you for permission to use your headset and mic, whatever. Click that, click OK, and then click join.
Well, while I'm waiting for that, did you guys hear about Wilfred Laurier? Son of a bitch. Fucking ads. Okay. All right. So Wilfred Laurier University to receive funding for equity, diversity, and inclusion initiatives. So the university is set to receive a grant through the Government of Canada pilot program with the aim of furthering the school's commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion. During a visit to the university on Thursday, Federal Minister of Science and Sports, Kirsty Duncan, announced that the school will receive $384,000 in funding over 2 years. So, you know, this is another thing too, right? Is that all of these universities are getting all this government funding, but they're pumping out Marxist and socialist, and they're against free speech and all this shit. And it's like, then you got Trudeau coming in here saying, well, you got to promote equity and diversity. Here's a bunch of money. And, oh, these are private universities, but, you know, a bunch of their funding is coming here. So it's a clear conflict of interest. You know, they're obviously, now they have to comply to all this bullshit. And, you know, complying to this means no freedom of speech, right? That means no free speech. The funding will assist the university in identifying barriers that impede the representation of minority groups within the academia, including Indigenous people, women, people with disabilities, visible minorities, and LGBTQ, etc. So, you know what the funny thing about this too is that men are already only 40% of people in universities, compared to women are like 60%. You know, like the deck is already being stacked against men in universities to a large degree, but they're going to do it even more now. Like, they want white men to make up like 10-20% of the university, even though right now they're underrepresented for the amount of people in the population, essentially. So you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think this really exposes this isn't diversity. This is a complete reversal of, I mean, because this isn't even as simple as like white, black, everything else. It's like men and women. It's like, it's binary. It's zeros and ones. So if you want a true representation, then it's 50-50 or 51-49 if you want to be specific. But no, it's already completely out of whack. So, okay, where are the funds to attract more men to universities and university programs to balance this out? No, we're pumping more into attracting more of the people who have already been attracted. So, but nobody seems to see that.
Yeah, you know, and this might even be a bad thing for all the people. Like, we're kind of looking at this as men and stuff and thinking, this is unfair, right? Which it is. But are these people really being educated? Are they really, like, to a large degree? Like, yeah, some of them are getting educated, but largely a lot of them are coming out worse off to some degree, and they're coming out unemployable because they're going to start working, and they're going to be full of all this SJW nonsense that their boss is going to be like, well, I don't want to hire this person, or this person's way too risky because they're going to accuse me of sexual assault because I didn't consent to touching them on the shoulder or something like that. And no, I'm not going to hire these people. And it's just, you know, that's, if anything, these things are probably funded by foreign governments to make us less employable, so then their people can get the fucking jobs or something above ours. Like, maybe it's something as simple as that, right? Because it's just that's what it's going to do, right? Back in the day, university was a good thing, right? Because only 10% of the people would go to university because it was more of like a prestigious thing. But now they're just trying to shove everybody in there, and they're lying to them saying, this is what makes you rich. People who go to university make more than people who don't go to university on average within their lifetime. But that's how it used to be. But now that's not really so much the case, especially if you're going in for a gender degree and gender studies. What are you going to be able to do? Very little, other than working for a few corporations where you're kind of like on this gender board. You go and like impose shit on people. But there's not that many of those jobs around. Like, you know,
the liberal government creating those jobs with the gender analysis on the Trans Mountain Pipeline, and
right, that's what they do. They'll create positions for that shit. They'll be like, okay, these degrees are useless now. I guess we're gonna force companies to do gender diversity shit on pipelines. And
it's not going anywhere with the free market, so the only way they can get their job is if they impose their will on everybody else, isn't it?
Right. Well, yeah.
Well, and that's the thing that is happening in the U.S., especially in the state or in Phoenix. I'm not sure if it's a state.
The city in Arizona.
State Arizona, yeah. And they have a major problem with student loans. Actually, student loans are, they say, is the next mortgage crisis in the U.S. because there are so many students that are being told to go to university, especially at places like Arizona, like the smaller towns, the populations where normally people would just go to community colleges and take some trades, but they're being told to take other things and take longer programs, and they get into these huge debts, and they walk out and they got no work, zero.
And the nasty thing about student loans in particular in the U.S. and actually in Ontario as well, I can't speak for other provinces, is if you go bankrupt, the student loans stay with you. So you cannot declare bankruptcy and get rid of student loans despite pissing away a bunch of money on something that's useless.
Speaking of pissing away money on something useless.
I'm glad you saw that transition there.
Thank you, Kel Fritzy, for the $30 donation. Thank you very much for the birthday. You said happy birthday from all of us. AJ, buy Chupa a new squeaky toy. Oh, I will. Thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate that, Kel, especially because I've noticed, you've been promoting my birthday and letting everybody know that it's going to be on there. I don't even know how you know. I must have mentioned it at one point.
Is it really your birthday?
On the 13th, May 13th. So it's still a couple days from now, but thank you very much for the donation. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, I'm going to be the big 3-0 very soon. So I really appreciate, you're
an old fart. I hope you get yourself a cane.
Oh yeah. I got lots of gray hairs and shit already, man.
Fred, do you think that AJ will become a boomer after his next birthday? Is he graduating to boomerdom? Excellent.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Excellent. But thank you everybody else in the chat as well too for wishing me a happy birthday. I really do appreciate that, and thank you again for the massive donation. Oh, Kelly, thank you, Kelly, for the $20 donation, and you can come on as well if you want. I'll throw the link in the description below. So Kelly, if you want to come on, but thank you again. Happy almost birthday, AJ. Thanks for being awesome. Much love, Steve and I. Oh, thank you, Kelly. You guys you don't need to do that. The shares, the likes, and people participating in the chats, that's more than enough. But I really do appreciate the donations, guys. Thank you very, very much. But like I said, Kelly, if you want to come on, the link is in the description below, and you can hop on whenever you have time, or if not, that's all good too. But thanks, guys. Let's see what else we got here for the show at the moment. This is kind of funny. Okay. I thought I had stopped screen sharing. So refugee who lost fingers to frostbite entering Manitoba pleads with MP not to pass new asylum law. So
why? It's not like they're going to make him go back anyway.
Right, I know. That's the thing, too. And did anybody think Trudeau is serious about these new changes to essentially make it so they can't apply for asylum in Canada anymore? They have to apply for asylum in America or whatever country they end into, and they're like, "This is unfair." And you're like, no, it isn't.
Is he saying that immigration policy by tweet is a bad strategy? Like, are they kind of realizing that just having random people come across the border unvetted, literally walking across the border and dumped on the streets of their cities is a bad idea, a bad strategy for Canadian immigration going forward?
And did they really have to lead with the flipper in the first picture? Like, they couldn't have put a bandage on that thing? They had to, hold it up with that hand. Like,
I know, right? It's like nobody wants to see that, but I guess, I don't know, it makes it more visual, and then people will, I don't know, click on it. But he looks really happy. He's like,
well, because he's getting free health care, so of course he's happy. There's nothing like should have been infected and died.
They're probably trying to tell him, like, no, act sad for this photo.
Yes.
It's like, it's a bad thing.
No, I'm in Canada, and I'm getting free healthcare. So yay!
Could be using Stumpy for the switcheroo, right? Which is like, oh look, look what's going to happen to me. But and then the public outcry is going to be like, no, let these guys stay. And it could be just one of those other political tactics that these guys use on and on again.
Base Brat 64, another $10 donation. Thank you very much. Happy birthday, AJ. It's my sister's birthday on the 13th too. I'd rather give you a birthday gift than my sister. She watches CBC for her news. Thank you for the donation, Base Brat. I really do appreciate that. And that's awesome that she's born on the 13th too. Anybody who's born on the 13th is a special person. Not in a retarded way, but in like a good way, right? The 13 is a special number. I had an old roommate that's like a crazy conspiracy theorist, and he was like obsessed with the number 13, and he would just focus on it. He was like, oh, look at C13, 13 there, 13 there, and he's like, your birthday's on the 13th, blah blah blah. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about that. Like those special numbers or whatever. Those
23 in the movie 23 with Jim Carrey.
Right.
Yeah, we saw it in that. But I think I am gonna actually bow out for the night, guys. I am after seeing that stump, I'm probably gonna go watch some amputee porn and get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing.
Do you want to be a transabled? That's a thing now, right?
It's what is it?
Transabled. You make yourself become, like that girl that poured bleach in her eyes because she felt she was always blind.
Oh, okay. Transabled. Well, no, I was just going to take advantage of somebody else's disability to my satisfaction.
Well, obviously, hey, this is the way you fight the sex strike there, Rants. Just take matters into your own hands.
I put an offer out on Twitter that all conservatives should do a counter protest. Right. And let's go have sex.
Yeah.
So anybody that's going to host a counter protest with me, females only. I am conservative.
I was gonna say there's a massive overrepresentation of males in the conservative side. So group sex thing. It'd be like that South Park episode, where they're all like they took our jobs, the people from the future. And they just like, we're just going to turn ourselves all gay, and then there won't be babies in the future to take our jobs. I was like, that would be a strategy. But yeah, thank you, Derek.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Always good to talk with you. Good to meet you today, Fred.
No worries. Thanks, man.
And thank you for the coffee. I'll talk to you later.
No worries. I hope you guys like it.
Take it easy, man. Have a good one.
Take care.
All right. So if Kelly, if you do want to hop on, you can hop on. We can talk about the sex topic, because I know you want to talk about that. or the what was it? The sex strike with Alyssa Milano. And I think there's still a little bit more meat to chew on that bone, because it's just a funny topic altogether, and how it is just backfiring on her, and people are like, we want to be degenerates, and you're not letting us, and you're just a stupid white feminist, blah blah blah. Okay, so you'll hop on a little bit. Okay, perfect. So Kelly Day is going to be hopping on shortly too, and I don't know, I'm not sure where the Forgotten Canadian is. I guess he's having issues with.
He's been trying to get on his phone. I don't think it works on his phone.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. He said he'll join next time.
Okay.
But,
all right.
Have you seen that article on, with Mother's Day coming up, right? Mother's Day of Rage, author explores why women end up doing most of the homemaking and parenting work. It's on the National Post. So there's been a lot of complaints about Mother's Day, and it's something that has to go beyond just like mothers, that it's a more of a feminist thing. And that still it's unequal, because women will do most of the housework and even in some cases work. But that's not necessarily the case, right? The issues being twisted. It's more like both parents are being pushed because wages haven't gone up in 20 or more years. Costs of living is skyrocketing. So both parents have to be at work full time. And when they get home, one has to take a bit of a breather, decompress, and start working with the kids while the other one might be doing something else. But at the same time, there's a lot of single mothers too, because that's the thing, you know, like you don't need kids. And if one decides to be a single mother, well, how can you then say that they're doing most of the work when they've chosen that lifestyle?
Right. And that's the thing too. It's all about choice. A lot of the things that people don't understand or they don't fail to realize is like a lot of these women were not raped, right? You chose to get pregnant. You chose to have a kid with somebody who's not reliable and that was going to run off on you. And that was your own choice. Now, this whole thing really, when they're talking about that, it's really, I think, just a way to divide men and women and get them to be like, well, I do more than you and you do more. Well, this is unfair, you know, and that's all it really is. It's like this unnecessary division between men and women where we start pitting ourselves against one another and saying, well, I do this and I do that. And it's like, you know, back in the day, it's like we've always used to understand these roles. It's like, you know, yeah, men would go out and do this and hunting. Yeah, things have changed now because two people have to work. So that has completely kind of fucked the whole natural dynamic. Whereas you'll see in marriages, if men start doing more household chores, the amount of sex they get decreases dramatically, right? So if a woman sees a man doing the dishes and doing all this, not to say that you can't do it occasionally, but if you make that like your chore and shit, and you're not doing like the manly shit, your woman's attractive level of you will go down. She will be like, you know, it's because it's just not natural, right? Women, it's natural for them to be hypergamous, right? To want to date men that can do better than them, because that's, you know, you need somebody that is going to be able to be stronger than you, to take care of you when you're pregnant, you know, back in the day. But I got a one super chat from Chuck Ford, $5. Hey AJ, thank you for the donation. I just wanted to pop in real quick to send a donation. I'm happy to see how much your channel has grown. Well, thank you, man. I really do appreciate that. It has grown a little bit more over the past couple months or so, few months. And yeah, it's starting to steadily grow a little bit more. And hopefully I can make it to 5,000 by the end of the month. We'll make that a goal. 5,000 by the end of the month. So everybody here, share and promote me, and promote Fredrick Godzilla Menckin, who's with me right now, and also Chris Gunderson. Both of their channels in the link in the descriptions below. Go there, subscribe right now if you're not already subscribed. You know, go there. They both release content. Chris hasn't recently because he's lazy and he's not dedicated, you know, to his craft. No, I'm joking. But no. He's gonna release some probably soon.
Yeah. Soon.
I'm joking. I'm messing with you, man.
Don't worry about it. I know. Don't worry about it.
Well, like, you know, you don't have to release any if you fucking don't want to. But and then Fredrick does release content, so go check him out as well. And yeah, but thank you again, man. Thank you again for the donation, man. I really appreciate that. Let me check the chat here a little bit. Kelly Day. Well, AJ supports the Islamic Party. Yeah, I keep getting that. So, AJ, do you still support IPOO? And I'm like, I don't support it. I said it was a good thing in a sense that you could use it to be like, hey, look, see, these are their policy positions. But I know you're fucking trolling me. I share you often. My American UK friends love you. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Cal. You've been very supportive of me and my channel since I've started, and I really do appreciate all you guys. You know, like I don't say it enough that I do appreciate everybody who just watches and shares and comments and interacts and stuff. Like, you know, I feel like there is a community kind of building among Canadians on YouTube, and there's a lot of different YouTubers, and then these different groups start to, you know, meet up and you know more about each other, and it's like it's almost like a little community, like a little second family. It feels like to some extent, right? And that's a good thing. I think that's exactly what we need. You know, what we always talk about small government and stuff is that we don't have anymore is community. You know, we don't have community, and this is, albeit not a close-knit community in a sense, they're not your neighbor, but it's still a large subset of people that will help each other out if they can, when they need to, right? And I think that's a good thing too, right? You know, we can mobilize our group, our people, essentially a good little chunk of people to go in and do something to affect change, right? Because you don't need you don't need 90% of the people to think something to change the country. You only really need 10% of the people to think something to start to sway the country and start to switch the direction that it's on. You don't need a huge amount of people to begin with. You just need a small amount that are loud, vocal, and want to change things, right? So, you know, that's what I really like about, you know, everybody that does, you know, everybody does seem to want to, you know, do something, or we all want the same thing, right, guys? Like, you know, a safer, peaceful life where the government isn't stealing all of our fucking money and giving it to other people, right? But yeah, I went on a little rant there, but thanks again, guys. You know, if you guys have anything else you want to interject with, shoot.
Well, that's one thing I love about, you know, these online conversations, and this the positive part of social media is that people can connect with other people who share, maybe who have similar beliefs or who don't have similar beliefs, and have that conversation openly without the media being the gatekeeper for those conversations. So
right.
Yeah, so definitely, yeah, I agree.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing I think that we didn't have before, that we have now, is that the media was the gatekeeper. And like, they're the ones that control the conversation, that control the narrative, and now we can all do it. Now we can have a conversation where, you know, like, I got 60 people watching this stream. Like even those are small numbers, right? But it's still, if you think about it, just imagine 60 people like in a room watching something that you're doing, right? A conversation like that'd be a good amount of people, right? And you would feel like you're doing something, right? If you're like in a room and you're having, like, you know, a discussion about something like that, right? I'm not saying that we're doing too much, just having a conversation, but, you know, any little bit helps. And yeah, conversations do help. That's how we do figure out truth and reality. And, you know, we all have different ideas and perspectives on, like, we all have different points of reference in life. Like, I have a different experience than you do, and than Fredrick, and we can all bring something to the table, and we can all see things a certain way that maybe I won't or you won't be able to see. And that's why free speech and all these things is super important, because without that, we're just going to dissolve, or, you know, our countries are going to, you know, just not, like, I think one of the main reasons why our countries are rich and prosperous and wealthy is because of that standard of freedom of speech that facilitated a lot of the other stuff, a lot of the other growth and prosperity in these countries. But without that, you know, I think it's going to be a massive stagnation to just progression. Like, there still be wealth and money because we've already achieved like a lot of technology. But I think like, you know, how they've looked at inventions in the past, like 20, 30 or 100 years, like the amount of inventions have decreased. Like, people aren't inventing as much stuff anymore as opposed to like 100 years ago. It's almost like people were smarter back then, you know? And I think they were. It's like, you look at the curriculum of kids and what they had to learn back in the day compared to what they have to learn now. It's like they have to memorize a lot of shit. It's like, no, a lot of stuff. But now they're virtually nothing. They don't even know where their country is on a fucking map, which is pitiful. Thanks for answering. I missed the disabled port part. I think AJ only likes iPoo. Okay, you're talking to Jerry. Thought she was responding to that. Well, Fredrick, where's Fredrick? He's been like a mute here this whole time.
It's very unusual for Fred.
I was playing with my sex robot.
Oh, okay.
I agree with you. I think community is very important, and a community that shares similar values, which is what we don't have, right? I mean, we have, but it's all fragmented. It's all over the place. So, I mean, when I saw Rants and Mike today out in the kind of was brisk, right? So you needed a jacket there, holding their flags and watching the cars go by and, you know, honking for their support. It was cool. It was nice. It felt good, right? So I think these kinds of conversations need to take place a lot more, and the more we can get people engaged, I think it's a lot better, because engagement's important, right? Because when you sit at home, you're just absorbing. You're not engaging. The chat's here engaging. Everybody's throwing ideas around. We're all talking about it. But when you sit there like a sponge in front of a TV, you can't really think critically.
Yeah, you just tend to just absorb a lot of what you're being fed a lot of the times. And yeah, when in this type of format, you got people like in live real time saying, you're wrong. Here's a link proving you're wrong. You know, oh, okay, fuck, shit, okay. Right? And you could like sway the chat, right? To like influence the show, right? You know, that's what I really like about YouTube and live streaming and stuff, is that the audience can say something and then like the person who's watching it live can notice it and then start a conversation about it and start like can shift the whole direction of the show, right? You know, you're all talking about this, then a super chat comes in that says like, what do you think about this and that, and then you all start talking about that for half an hour. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And like, I think that is a really cool aspect of social media and the ability that it has. And Boingo Bear for 1330. Happy birthday, AJ. Party on. Thank you for the donation, Boingo Bear, man. I really do appreciate that. For 1330, I like the number there. You know, that's a special number, like I said. Only special people are born on May 13th, specifically May 13th. You know, I looked it up. There's tons of great people born on that day, like kings and queens. No, there's not. There's not. But like, you know, I'd like to think there probably is. It's just not documented, you know, as well.
The greatest people in the world were born on that day.
Oh, Kelly's here.
Hey, EJ, how's it going?
Laugh at me too. How's it going, Kelly?
Laughing with you. Good. How are you doing? And it's Fred and Chris, right? Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
That's right. Hello.
How's it going, guys? Hello.
Not too bad.
Just before we get off the topic of May 13th birthdays, you shared this birthday with Robert Pattinson from Twilight. I don't think he said anything else, so he did that. Stevie Wonder has the same birthday as you, so there you go. And there's a bunch of names I don't recognize. Dennis Rodman. There you go. There you go. Pusha T.
Great people.
Yeah, there you go.
He saved America in the war
from
North Korea.
Richie Valens.
Pretty much.
Yep. And Stephen Colbert. Yeah. There you go. So there you go. All those. Yeah, you can't win them all. But anyways, yeah. Oh, and PK Subban. There you go. He has the same birthday. But so does Lena Dunham. So yeah.
What?
You win some and you lose some. Yep. May 13th
Lena
birthdays.
Dunham?
Now, mind you, my source is B. Arthur. There you go. So Blanche from Golden Girls, you know, thank you for being a friend. There you go.
Much greater people born on that day.
Yep.
I am an example of it.
Blanche from Golden Girls, is that what you said?
Yeah, that's right.
Great character. Great character.
Friend.
Okay, travel around the world and back again.
So Kelly, did you have any opinions on the sex strike that recently took place by Alyssa Milano on Twitter?
I do, because I don't love Twitter, but sometimes, I get off of the main homepage and then I get to the trending page and I see whatever ludicrous hashtag has been invented that people think are going to change the world for that day. And then I saw the sex strike and I was like, what on earth is the conservative sex strike? And I didn't realize it was Alyssa Milano at first, but it makes sense now because she seems to bring about all the insane things. And I just read the comments and I thought, surely everybody will think this is ridiculous, but not everybody does. And so I find it really fascinating. So yeah, I had to dive in. I don't have a whole bunch of like fantastic coherent thoughts. I just think it's really, really funny.
Yeah, it is, especially that it's turning on her now. It's like backfiring. And I see this all the time. It's always these people, they try to virtue signaling and it backfires on them. So I don't know when they're ever going to wake up and just be like, okay,
yeah, but
stop.
Hasn't Alyssa been irrelevant for a really long time? And now I guess she's just desperate to be relevant again.
Yeah,
I believe
She's
so.
relevant as a political commentator. Yeah.
She's one of the biggest like whores in Hollywood, right? And like it's funny that she comes out and is all Me Too is like the face of Me Too, where she's like known to have slept around with like pretty much everybody in Hollywood to get to her position, right? But it's funny, this whole Me Too thing with her. It seems to me like something that these types of women are just trying to use to promote their position in life and try to take down some of these men that they don't like and then promote themselves and be like, just using an excuse to be like, we need like more women directors because then they won't be harassing people and abusing people, et cetera, right? But it's not that it's men that are a problem. It's the men from Hollywood. There's a lot of degenerate people in Hollywood that do a lot of gross, degenerate things.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the people you hang around with and those types.
Well, didn't the Me Too start with that Asia Argento? Then they discovered that it was all a lie, and then she slept with some underage boy who she.
Well, it actually started with this black woman, and like you know why they didn't use her as the face.
Yeah, Me Too was actually around for quite a while before the celebrities got involved, and then they kind of glommed onto it when the time came. And yes, AJ, that's that's a good point.
I'm like, nobody raped you. Like, no way. Like that's bullshit. Okay.
Well, this whole thing with Alyssa Milano and this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted.
Oh,
you.
sorry. I was going to show it. I'm like, no, that would just be mean. I'm not going to show it. But what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say this whole thing that like with Alyssa Milano and like you guys were saying, just Me Too and all of it. It's fascinating because in this case, they're specifically talking about conservative men, right? And I mean, most of the jokes I've seen are like, hey, conservative men usually don't want a bunch of liberal women anyway. But I mean, that aside, it's all about this whole pro-choice thing because now, I guess if you're pro-life, it's considered anti-choice as opposed to pro-life. You're just anti-choice because they believe that every man who cares about abortion is wanting to control a woman's body, that it's part of the patriarchy. Whereas I see a whole different side. Like when I did my abortion testimony, the amount of men that were like emotionally reaching out and telling me their stories and expressing like tears and sadness and grief, like they actually care about the topic. They're not trying to control. It's so bizarre. I feel sad for these women because like you guys said, maybe the men in Hollywood are like this, but have you never had a good man in your life? Like what a sad lot these people are. Like they must have had a bad life. I almost feel for them, except for they're so maddening.
And these are the people who also take probably all kinds of advice from celebrities. And so a celebrity says something is bad or good, and okay, sure, I'll take your word for it. So to that point, they're not having that experience. It's ridiculous.
I don't think a lot of these women even want a good man, honestly.
True enough. They'd rather be mad, I think.
Right. I think they make a profession of just being constant victims, and it gives them that spotlight. Because if your life is perfect, there's nothing to complain about. And if you want, go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry. Go ahead, Fredrick. What were you going to say?
No, I'm saying that there's like if you have a fairly normal lifestyle, I guess, I don't know what you would want to call normal today, but you have a family, you have kids, you go to work. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and it's some hardship, obviously, but predominantly you're too busy sometimes you just want to rest, right? But when you have it all and you're bored out of your mind and no one's paying attention to you, it's really easy to start up some bullshit. So like, I honestly think these people by design create these situations where they put themselves in, and then they get a lot of likes. I think that's the dopamine hit. A lot of responses, another dopamine hit. So it's almost redundant talking about Hollywood, because that's what it's all about. It's about me, look at me, spotlight, pat myself on the back. They really, really love me.
Well, yeah, it's like they have a new award show it seems like 6 days. I'm like, what, another show giving these people awards? But I got one more super chat from Faye Knox. Thank you for your $10 donation. Happy birthday, AJ. Figure since Trudeau sent me 169 for carbon tax, I can give up 4 beer this month. Laugh out loud. Oh, thank you, Faye Knox. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's right. He gave me about 170, I think, for my carbon tax too, and my taxes, and then my tax man let me know, oh, this is from the Trudeau government, by the way. I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm like, I told him, I'm like, this is a bribe, I'm like, because we haven't even paid into this yet. I'm already getting money back. Yeah. I'm like, that makes no sense. I'm like, and it's only Manitoba, Saskatchewan. He's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, they just told me to give it to you. He told me to tell you this, essentially. Like, he was probably just told to say that, right? Like, then this is from your carbon tax refund that you're getting. You're like, oh, thank you very much for this pitiful pittance.
I don't know who.
Sorry, go ahead.
Boingo Bear just asked, I don't know who it's directed to, but he just asked, how much would someone have to pay you to get a Trudeau tattoo? And I'm just going to dive right in and say there's no amount of money that could ever allow that much Trudeau ink to seep into my veins. Anyone else have an answer for that?
Depends.
Well, depends. I've got kids, so I don't
know. If somebody's like, I'll give you $10 million. Yeah, I'd probably get one. Like, I'd get it on like the bottom of my foot, so nobody would see it.
True, if you could get it on one butt cheek, maybe. I don't know.
No, but I get it on like some hidden spot where I could hide it or something, or like in like really, if they're not specific with, if they just say, "Hey man, you want to get a tattoo?" I'll be like, okay, fine, and it'd be like really, really small, and they'd have to like look at it with like a magnet, like, "Hey, it's his name." You weren't specific. It's like the genie. You got to be careful what you wish for. You gotta be
very specific. Yeah, that's true.
Because then he'll just, all right, you said you wanted riches. There you go, right? Blah blah blah. But yeah, no, I don't think I would. I don't know. Give me money and I'll think about it.
Yeah, how about a little bit of a, like the carbon tax? Give me a little now, and we'll just go from there.
Right. But no.
Sorry to change the subject. I just saw that question, and I have no idea who he was asking, but I thought, we'll go for it.
Yeah, no, I don't even have any tattoos. It's just one of those things that I'm like, I don't know what I would want to get, and then I just don't sit down and think about it, and I'm like, one day maybe I'll get something. But
you gotta have like a goal for what you want. You don't just get one for the sake of it. But I actually got my first one in, I guess it'd be November. Steve and I both got our first ones like this past year. So
okay, nice.
Yeah, kind of exciting.
Does Chris have any tattoos? But you're a Christian, so I would
I'll never tell.
That's a yes. That means yes.
I'll never tell.
So that's blaspheming. You're going to hell, essentially.
I didn't say yes. I didn't say no.
How very Trudeau of you.
I'm sure Fredrick has like a Slavic tattoo. From
actually, that's a good call. Fuck, you are really.
Is it really?
Yeah. it's the Croatian good. But I got it. It's like plastered. I was on the university row team, and I don't know, these stupid idiots. We were drinking. We were preparing to go against UFT, and these guys, the women were all, they shaved their heads. They all looked like really mean. Probably beat us all up, and we were we were the night before our regatta on the Ottawa River. We were drinking and smoking up, and we went to get tattoos that night, which is a really dumb thing to do if anyone that knows that gets tattoos. So yeah, we were hammered the next day, a little bit in pain. Yeah, we came in like 3rd place, which wasn't too bad, but
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
But,
nice.
in terms of the question about a Trudeau tattoo, you'd have to probably kill me 5 times over to get one, because there's no way in hell, no way.
Are you sure?
Am I sure?
Listen, man, you got kids too, okay? Don't turn that many away.
I'm absolutely 100% equally sure. Probably just to troll Trudeau, I'd probably get a tattoo of his wife.
So what you could do, you could get a Trudeau tattoo, but it doesn't have to mean it has to be a complimentary Trudeau tattoo. Like they had, I took my wife to see a movie on Friday, and it had Seth Rogen in it. But anyways, he was a journalist. Kicks off the movie. He's infiltrating this white nationalist group. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. This Nazi group in the States. And they say, look, if you're going to be one of us, you need to get a Nazi tattoo. You need to get a swastika. So they're basically in the middle of tattooing him on it, but then he basically jumps out a window and runs away. And so over the course of the movie, he's like slowly adding things onto the tattoo to kind of change it into anything but a swastika. So anyways, that being said, you could get a Trudeau tattoo, but he something could be happening to Trudeau in the tattoo. You could have him superimposed over something else. Like it doesn't have to be his smiling face. Like there's other things that you can do with that. Like you can use it basically to spite Trudeau. Think about it that way.
Right.
Now, would you get a Trudeau tattoo? There you go.
You get Justin Trudeau is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Written on your back.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, since Kelly's on, you were in the UK with Tommy Robinson, right?
Sure was, yeah, with the Panodrama anti-BBC rally.
Yeah, I saw that. Like, what did you think about that? I thought the way he caught that, I don't know what's happened after that. Doesn't seem to really have much publication after when he caught that journalist lying.
Yeah.
But was there anything that happened after that?
Well, not a lot, because they so immediately scrubbed the internet of it. My How They Rule Ya version is one of the few, apparently I've heard, I didn't realize this, that's actually left out there. They took him off Facebook right away after that, a couple other platforms. And then immediately after, they started taking down people's footage that they had taken of like cell phone footage of the rally. So there wasn't a lot of traction because they tried so hard to get rid of it. But it was seen millions of times before that happened. And I don't know if there's going to be any sort of long-term consequences, but hopefully it at least hurt the reputation. I think it was Sweeney was the guy's last name in the UK. It sounds like if nothing else, it maybe hurt his reputation a bit. So we'll see where it goes. If nothing else, if you can open up a few people's eyes to the lies, and like he did a great job. The experience was pretty awesome. The rally was awesome. Of course, Avi Yamini was there as well. The UKIP leader was speaking. It was a pretty incredible rally. And watching that documentary, he had just sort of rolled it out for the first time and on the big screen. Pretty cool. So he was well done. I don't know if it was quite as epic as Avi Yamini's little sting with Jim Jeffries. Is that his name? That was pretty incredible.
Yeah, that was with Jim Jeffries. Well, Jim Jeffries,
it's impressive. All of these guys that are going in and just saying, enough's enough. I'm gonna show the truth. I think that's awesome.
It was a beautiful sting. I mean, just that end piece there, and then he didn't really have a leg to stand on, and then you had Sweeney saying that he was going to contact his lawyers, but then I never heard anything about it, which is kind of sad, because if you look at what's happening with the public space, which is they're scrubbing everything, and even today with the experience with Derek and Mike, where like even the actual literal public space is being erased too. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it gets more traction down the road. People will start talking about it again, because BBC's up to their tricks again.
Yeah, that's just it. And they have an interesting system going on over there. It's even worse than Canada. Like they've even, I think, Twitter erased Tommy's MEP campaign page, which I don't even think is legal. But anyways, I mean, it's a private company, so I guess arguably everything's technically legal, but it's interesting. It seems like that would violate a whole lot of standards. So yeah, they really just want to erase him, but you can't do that. So of course he's campaigning, he's driving place to place and doing videos with anyone he can. So you're not going to shut the guy up. I do worry about his safety though. He has a lot of people threatening him. He consistently gets threats. His family gets threats. It's pretty awful. He's a brave guy. So no matter what you think of him, he's a brave man.
Right. I think so too. Right. And like people shit talk him a lot and be like, oh, he did something illegal, he deserved to go to jail. Like even a lot of people on the right and stuff, or kind of like on the further right, I guess. And you know, it's like, you know, whether or not you think he's like a Zionist shill or something, I don't know, maybe, but he puts himself at risk, it seems like to me. Would you go to jail? Like, or would you do something to have yourself risk going to jail? And would you just do it for popularity? Like maybe he did it just for popularity, but you know, you'd have had pretty big balls just to fucking go to prison and solitary confinement. So, oh, he starved himself on purpose. It's like, okay, well, maybe, but that's pretty difficult to do. You do that. You don't eat for a fucking month and see how you can fucking take it or whatever, right? You know, even if he did it on purpose, I'm like, well, I congratulate him. He's got a pretty strong will to be able to do that. You know?
I mean, I personally, I mean, I can't say for sure, you know, you can't prove it one way or the other. There's people that are really good actors, so I can't say, you know, anything with a guarantee. But I mean, I've met him personally. I've met his wife, met some of his friends, you know, and you sort of get the sense of who people are when you can finally look in their eyes, give them a firm handshake, old school Saskatchewan style, right? And seems pretty like a pretty legit guy. But ultimately, when I watched him, I think it was on Tucker Carlson after he got out of prison, and he had lost all that weight and everything. But he had this his eyes were darting, and you could tell he was like maybe jittering his leg. He had these movements, and I recognize like the trauma thing. And then of course it came out after that he was going through like PTSD from whatever would happened in prison. So I don't know, if he's faking trauma symptoms, like, well done. The guy should have been in Hollywood making, you know, 10 bill a year, because that's pretty impressive. So hard to say, but I mean, whatever happened to him, yeah, it's like you said, it's intense either way. Like it's not like it's pleasant to be in prison not eating either way, even if you were in fact doing it as some massive show. But I don't know, like I said, you have to trust someone at some point. It's hard to tell sometimes who it's going to be, but when you get to meet them, it does help a little bit, because at least you get some sense of kind of what's going on.
Yeah, and what interests me a lot is that we tend to, instead of follow kind of American politics and dialectics, but we follow more of the British sense. And you know, like UK is going down the route where it's almost you have the mimicry of the movie V for Vengeance. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that movie.
V for Vendetta.
With the people with, sorry, V for Vendetta, correct. And the people with the Guy Fawkes masks at the end, because that's the route. Like your TV's being, you know, managed by the government. What you see, what you hear, people being arrested for misgendering. And I mean, it's already happening here in BC, right? With that ogre. I mean, Shrek. I mean, Morgaine, whatever. And
Goblin.
It's and what like, it seems where they've already gone, and they keep going. They're on this like path that they're gonna, something's gonna crack, right? And you have now Tommy campaigning very heavily to be MEP. I'm not sure what can be done at that central office, but you know, I see we're heading the same way.
Right. But you know, I see hope in a lot of different ways too, right? Like you know, there is a lot of rising type populist parties all over Europe now. I think Marine Le Pen is doing better than what's his name, Macron, in the polls now. Granted, Maxime Bernier is small right now, but honestly, it does seem like, okay, now we at least finally have something that we can be like, okay, now we can vote for. Like, somebody just got email today in my riding that they're going to be running, right? So there's going to be somebody in my riding running as well too, so I can vote for them, etc. So that would be good, you know. And I think that is a good thing, even if it's a minimal thing that we can do, and it may have very little effect whatsoever. And we don't have to never put complete trust in anybody, you know, ever. That's just foolish. But you know, I finally feel a little bit better about potentially voting for somebody instead of being like the way I was even before Maxime Bernier even appeared. I was saying this to my older, I'm like, oh, Cheer's a cuck, man. He's so pussy. I'm like, oh, just see him, and I'm like, I don't want to vote for this guy. I'm like, this is terrible. Like, this is all we have in Canada, you know. And you see the way Michelle Rempel acts. It's just despicable, man. It's despicable the way that woman acts.
Yeah, like, I've lost a lot of respect for her. Like, she went from, I used to think, oh, at least she's like a tough, you know, she's a tough chick. She's smart, and we may disagree on some things, but she's doing her best. And now, I don't know, like the last 4 or 5 things that have come up with her, I'm just, yeah, I'm disappointed. Like, I never really trusted her. I didn't really follow her because I wasn't a CPCer at all. So, but yeah, right. I think there's a few people that have been, you know, calling her out for a while. And I think there was definitely something to that. She seems to be, too easily swayed, you know. I don't know, it doesn't really stand for anything, and that I find kind of frustrating. Like, even just with, she's kind of acting like a liberal right now when it comes to calling everybody a racist and whatever else. Yeah. It's like, didn't she call the PPC far right at one point?
Oh yeah, and
Pretty sure.
she was trying to use an article, a blatantly smear article from some leftist organization, to be like, see, their party hates gays or something. Or like,
well, she was also very on good terms with Shrek and the Shrek Foundation.
Yeah,
and you know, she was there at the foundation's meetings. There was actually another conservative too from London that I pointed out in one of my videos, who's actually made contributions to the foundation's website. She's already blocked me. Like, I've kind of tried to call out her a few times. I used to follow her early on, just like Kelly says. Like, I liked some of the things that she says, right? But often a lot of people can say things and not really mean them. And, you know, as progressed, I started to question. Then she finally blocked me. But whatever. I mean, it just tells you who they are. And, you know, same with Cheer, right? Like, I mean, they're pretty much, they're the whole conservative party. They are, and I think that, you know, there's a natural progression. So what happens is, as you start to see your population be more, the minorities are becoming more of a majority. They have more say in the inner cities. What happens if the party needs to be relevant? It's going to have to pander to these smaller groups, and yeah. So,
well,
it's a natural progression of how we.
Well, they're doing it too early. That's the thing, right? It's like there's a large amount of non-voters that you could invigorate, but they've kind of like given up on them. It seems like, and they're like, okay, well, we just resigned to this aspect, and you know, I think it's all about fear. I think it comes down with fear, because to me, it seems like the liberals are just so fucking corrupt. It's ridiculous. And it seems to me the conservatives, they're corrupt too, because they're into the institution of government, but they're not as corrupt, but they're more like just cowards. Like, they're just complete cowards. And this cowardice has kind of like allowed the party to scale back, and maybe it's not necessarily cowardice, but also just the want and the need for power and the retaining of power. Because, you know, that's the thing with the system that we have with democracy, voting, all this stuff, that this is what it does. It makes politicians pander to groups of people to get their vote. So, you know, that's just what they're going to do. And they think that by going more hard on immigration and on some of these aspects, that this is going to drive away some of the minority votes. But that may not necessarily be true anyways. We don't know how many people could actually, minority people like immigrants could be like, yeah, I like that too. I support that too. But you're just assuming because of the color of their skin that they're not going to like this, right? And it's true that, yes, the left, minorities and stuff vote for the left on average more. But, the way I see the right trying to pander to minorities and stuff in America, I think it's really stupid, a lot of the ways they do it. And the way that in Canada here, they do it too. I'm like, I think you would probably appeal more to some minorities and probably maybe a bigger chunk of them, not all of them, but maybe even a bigger chunk if you were just more straight, direct, and honest and didn't like tippy toe and try to do that. And that would also probably reinvigorate a lot of the other people who are not voting because they're like, well, what options do I have? What's the point? I'm just not going to vote. Right. So, I think that is what's, is kind of what's happening right now. Right.
Well, that's sort of what I'm focusing on with the PPC is, I have no plan to steal CPC votes. If someone wants to come over, that's great. But ultimately, we have a massive group of people that just, like you said, AJ, they're just disillusioned. They don't care. They're either apathetic or they just don't trust the government, right? There's people that just won't vote because they say, what's the point? A, my vote doesn't count, especially when you're in the West. And also, just they don't trust whoever's in charge. Ultimately, it's like elitists versus the rest of us. It's not like just because someone's conservative doesn't mean that you have to like every conservative person that's been in power. They've done a lot of stupid stuff too. So ultimately, it really does come down to just feeling like, what's the point? It's all the same at the end of the day, right? Like flip a coin, who cares? So people need to feel like reinvigorated, like they have some choice, some option. What I like about Max is that he allows his candidates to speak as long as you're sort of along the same major lines as the foundation of the party, so the values and the policies, then really you're able to hold other views. He doesn't like, you know, for example, like the Liberals have sort of like doubled down on the idea that if some of their MPs still hold pro-life ideals, they can be graduated in, but they have to vote with the party line. And that's where I think you start getting, this is where I think politics gets disgusting, because you get people that are willing to sell out for a certain amount of money or a certain position or a certain amount of security, and then you sell out for one little thing. Well, it's just one compromise here, it's just one compromise there. Before you know it, you're a different freaking person that doesn't stand for anything you actually believe in. And then you have all these robot politicians and wonder why. Well, they've all sold their soul for money, position, and power. And it's I mean, again, you can't say that you can trust everybody in the PPC either, but I see a lot more hope in our party and the way we're going. Just regular people. It's just a bunch of regular, good-hearted Canadian people. And Max is he's saying a lot of stuff that other people won't say. So I got to give him some credit for that, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's not perfect. And like Slender Chunk brought up, like, you know, the 250 stat, and he's kind of starting to backtrack on that a little bit more too, and not backtrack, but offer potentially less or something, or at least proposing it type thing on Twitter, right? And the thing that happened too on his party with that gay guy that left, who was saying that he got booted out because he was gay, which was bullshit, right? It was because he was trying to make people sign a pledge to support gay rights and all this stuff, which would be completely like against libertarianism. Because what does that mean, supporting gay rights, right? Supporting bill, like you know, like putting people away for misgendering people and charging them. Does that mean supporting gay rights? Because I think that's what it means. So of course you'd be fucking booted out if you're a fucking communist or some shit like that. You know, and
well, yeah, he's some kind of an activist, is my understanding, that had a lot more to do with sort of his activities and his I don't know. There's usually, you can often tell when someone comes out on Twitter and says, oh, I'm upset. Hey, journalist, do you want to interview me? Because that's what this guy did on his Twitter page. I think he had it pinned. By the way, this bad thing happened to me. The PPC is so awful. You want to interview me? And sure enough, they just dove after it like vultures after some sort of a new kill. And it's just like, honestly, it makes me question it immediately. Immediately, my red flag goes up and says, okay, well, that's not how most mature adults handle their situations, like business type situations. It just seemed really, I don't know. Again, I can't say, I don't know both sides of the story, but I've seen enough evidence kind of from the other side that I'm thinking, yeah, he was not being entirely sincere, right? And it's like I said, ultimately, I've seen no homophobia at all. Like I generally don't see homophobia anywhere. I think that word, as so many, is way overused. But I really haven't seen, like, I think there's actually quite a number of gay people either running or working in different capacities, volunteering, provincial coordinators. This is not it's not an unusual one-off thing. Like, we're not in any way. We're really not what the papers are saying at all. It's just astounding how much hype gets thrown out there and people just buy it. It's just ridiculous.
So,
right, but for
Kelly,
go ahead.
So Kelly, there is a question I want to ask, and I am a cynicist. I did work in politics straight out of university with certain liberal candidates and others, and I just because I was thinking of getting in into it full time, and then I just backed out of it. But I do want to ask. So there's a tendency for each party. It's about a 12-year mark, right? Go in, they go out, they do switch. They have a certain shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember there was a lot of hype around Trudeau, and he said a lot of the right things. And
no, he didn't.
He seemed
you said this to me before. He didn't say a lot of the right things. He said the things we thought were the right things, which was like more.
Well, he cued. Hold on. So he cued a lot of things that people wanted to hear, right? So
populism on the
things
left.
that we wanted to have to change. But hold on a sec. So there were a lot of things he wanted to talk about the middle class. That's nonpartisan. It's middle class is a very important key subject. And I like to deal with metrics, right? So I would always ask, well, what is your middle class? Can you define that in a more detailed, defined scope, right? Because middle class could be somebody that's making $250,000, right?
Yeah, it depends where you are in the country.
It depends on where you are. Yeah. Exactly.
Max is being detailed with his policies.
So the question I have is, just have an open mind, is what would be the next step in a scenario where Max wins and then it goes south, right? What would be the next step? What would be the evolution?
We'll kill everybody,
or I don't know, revolution.
Whatever.
You mean the evolution of the party itself, or where do we go next as a country?
Well, where do we go next as a people, as a nation?
Get to it. You know what? So we always be prepared. But sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say, AJ? That might be a good preamble.
I was just going to say, I think like we should always be prepared. Like I think Fredrick, you talk about this, and we should always be prepared for the worst circumstances. But that doesn't mean you don't need to try to enact some change with the corrupt system we have at our hands or at our disposal to use, right? And like I said, what if it doesn't? What if it goes wrong? Well, we're already going wrong. Like it's already all going wrong. So I'll take the what if chance. I'll take that chance as opposed to the assured destruction path we're set on right now, right? I'll take the 10%, the 5% chance as opposed to the 100% chance of utter destruction, right?
Yeah. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Kelly, what's your thought on this?
Well, okay, there's a couple ways to look at it. First, realistically, and I've had this conversation with a lot of people because the vote split concept comes up. So I'm going to cover that, but it all ties in. So a lot of people say, well, there's no way in hell Max is getting in. He's not going to win the seat. Well, we all understand. I think most people in the party recognize and are realistic that, very likely Scheer is going to be our next PM. Ultimately, I think we really are, we're going to go for the gusto. Nobody's going to try and just win second place. That's ridiculous. In anything, that's ridiculous. So we're all going to go for it. But ultimately, I think, to be fair, we would hope for opposition. And ultimately, if it's even less than that, any seats right now, the way my provincial coordinator we had a good talk about this the other day, do you really want to hand Scheer a blank check, right? Do you want to hand someone all of the power? Because it doesn't matter whether it's Liberals or Conservatives. Having a majority government is one of the biggest problems. So I think that the first element of this is understanding the massive difference that there's going to be if we're able to at least have a minority government and then have some other say in there, because what happened this time with Trudeau and him getting majority was really part of the big disaster. He did so much more damage. Now, that being said, you know, to me, it's iron sharpening iron, right? So there's nothing too bad that can happen. If he were in fact to win, we take a populist uprising and it just happens like Trump, and it's amazing. And all the polls have been, you know, they're shocked and people can't believe it. Well, okay, that's possible. And then like you said, you find out that it goes south. I assume you're meaning maybe Bernier goes back on his word. Is that what you're kind of saying? Like, are you suggesting it's all a lie?
So like,
kind of thing?
well, not suggesting it's a lie. I'm suggesting that it could be just the momentum and the weight of a lot of these interest groups that are engaged in our political atmosphere. Like, you know, the amount of NGOs, and then it's, you know, I think it was one of the comedians that made a joke about this. He said, you know, you get, I think it was George Carlin, who says, yeah, you get a president who makes $200,000 a year, and you get some guy from an IT firm who makes billions. Well, like, who's really running the country, right?
Right, I see what you mean. And this is something a few nights ago, Rants Derek had, what's his name? Dan Dix on from Press for Truth. And he doesn't really follow a lot of politics because, and that's what he likes Maxime, but he's sort of taking it from like the side view, just saying, you know, I'm not sure how I feel, because he doesn't really trust any government. He said that's because he looks into kind of what you're talking about, the background stuff, the stuff that is kind of corrupt that we don't see as citizens unless you're doing a lot of hefty research. Is it too far gone, basically, is what he's saying. Is there any party, no matter how well the intentions are, like even if all of us are pure at heart, can you break through that when it's such a mess? What does it mean for the country? Does it cause economic collapse? Is it going to mean civil war? Is it going to mean massive unrest? Is it going to mean separation of East and West or of different provinces? You know, what happens if something goes wrong because we can't push through because of everything that's set in place for this to go in a more, say, globalist direction, for example? So I guess I can't see that far ahead, right? Here's what I can trust. I can trust in, like AJ said, you have to move forward in the best way you can. You have to make the best. You have to pick the best way forward out of whatever options you're given. We're limited in this country right now. So basically, I'm going with the policy, the platform, everybody that's on board, that's really working towards this. They're good, level-headed, rational people. Time and time again, it feels like we're all on the same page. We want the same thing. So when you get that sense that, you know, you're kind of on the right side of history, you just keep moving forward and you hope for the best, and you just try to change minds one at a time, because it's otherwise it just starts to feel like, well, what's the point? And I have those moments because I don't know where this party's leading, and I don't know what's going to happen either in the election or beyond the election, right? I know that the people in the party will keep Max honest. I know that if he turns out to be something that he, you know, said he wasn't, we're all going to be pretty upset, and there's not a chance we're going to be allowing it to happen. So I know about the integrity of myself and my fellow candidates and everyone else, and that's about all I can go with right now, right? That's kind of, I don't know if that answers your question. It's just, it's such a big unknown. And like you said, there's forces at work that are international. There's stuff going on with NGOs. There's crony capitalism. There's so much corruption. How do you even make a change? But we have to try, right?
Well, the thing is, too, also that I was thinking about is that, let's just say Max Bernier or something were to win, right, with his platform. So what would that mean, essentially? That would mean that you have a substantial amount of people who believe in free market principles, freedom of speech, all this other good stuff, right? Because currently, I think one of the main issues is that we all want to be slaves. You know, we all want to take care of the government. We all think it's like we have a massive amount of the population that are willing slaves and are going to get the other minority of the population in line if they try to, you know, wake everybody up. But if you got to the point that even if there were people in the background trying to manipulate things, if you were to get a large substantial of the population to be like, no, we believe this is an inalienable right, freedom of speech, this property rights, etc., and we believe that this should be bestowed upon human beings. You know, once that group of people gets to a certain amount, it doesn't matter what the fuck these people do. It doesn't matter if they necessarily double cross us, because, you know, at the end of the day, numbers means a lot. And if you don't have the numbers, you know, then you will be taken over. You will be conquered. People will impose things on you. So it's essential that we gain more numbers in case of something bad ever does happen, right? You know, and that is essential. So you can use Maxime Bernier, even if you think that he's not legitimate or whatever, as a kind of a vehicle to get some of these things out into the mainstream, because basic conservatism now these days is being demonized as Nazism, you know, a meritocracy, like I said, just basic conservative principles. So, and you know, they're like, oh, this is white supremacy. Learning about what do you call it? Plato and Socrates. This is just white supremacy and all this other, you know, fucking nonsense that is just brainwashing people's minds. But if we, like I said, if we had a substantial amount of the population, like 60%, that believed in this, then it doesn't really matter what these people would want to impose on us, because we would just kind of take over the government. Be like, no, you're not going to do this. And that's another thing too, is that we think the government is all powerful, and that's what they want us to think. And that's how people scare you into submission. This is how most people, if you've ever been in a fight, you know that you can win the majority of the fight through intimidation. If the other guy is intimidated from you, then you can pretty much do whatever the fuck you want to them and kick their ass, right? And this is what the government does. They you know, present power to us. They're always presenting power, never weakness. So then we always think that they're powerful. And this is something that I saw actually the other day on Propertarianism. This guy, I forget his name. I'll link to his channel later, but he's talking about never showing weakness, right? And this is really true, because this is something that we do show all the time, and it does kind of open us up to being controlled. Because if they think that we're afraid of the government and afraid of them, of the military and all this other stuff, then they know they can scare us with that, and scare us into submission and to not doing stuff and not being afraid. But if people really knew the amount of power that they truly do have over what is going on, then you would see actually change made. But we just don't fully grasp it, I think, in my opinion, right?
Well, the government.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, no, I was just saying that I would take that with caution, saying that, you know, the government is not all powerful. They are until they're not, right? So, you know, just going back to Ceausescu's time,
quarters of this military often votes like conservative, like, you know, the majority. So when they think that they're going to get the military to kill people, you got to remember the military is also the highest representative of people that want to secede and want to like make their own countries. So, you know, this is something that people need to take into consideration as well. They don't have mindless necessarily drones that are going to go and kill their own civilians, right? There's lots of
I'm not saying that, but, you know, but there has been instances where even just today, right, where there is a show of force. I mean, even look at Tommy Robinson's case, right? There was no justification to do what they did to him, and they did it anyway. There was no justification for the justice system to ignore multiple women, young girls being raped by Muslim, what they call Asian gangs, and, you know, no one doing anything about it. So in a sense, yes, government does have power over you until it doesn't, until people stand up, and they cannot do anything at that, because it's just by the numbers, right? I mean, Ceausescu had an iron will to control his people, till one day people cumulatively, all together, gregariously went and stomped through his palace and hung him. And the same thing happened in China. You know, like you can't stop a mass of people, but there has to be a will, right? And right now what's happening is we have a will to try and change it politically.
Right.
Okay, we got this guy, and let's vote for him. God, pray everything that he turns out genuine. But my fear, whether he's genuine or not, is that the weight of all of these interest groups that, and I think, Kelly, if you do get elected, you'll probably find a lot of challenges. There's going to be a lot of people calling your office and saying, we'll shake my hand and I'll pat your back and yada, yada, yada. It's going to take a lot of strength of spirit to push that away.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens because we're human only and we're going to frail. When I know because my wife had a fairly good job there with the government in China, and she worked for the Taxation Bureau. And there were people from the community bringing of cash and saying, just let me file a smaller amount and you can keep all of this. But she had a strong will. She had family who were in the police force, and she pushed that away. But there are a lot of other people that didn't and became very profitable for them. So, it's a tough nut to crack, right?
It is. Well, we can all turn to the dark side, so to speak, right? And so, it takes very, very strong will, strong principle, strong integrity. And because a lot of people that go into politics in the first place have the wrong motives, which is why it's interesting. You see people rising up elsewhere, in the UK, you've got Tommy Robinson rising up. You have Carl Benjamin going in with UKIP. You have people saying, you know what, I don't even know if I'm qualified, but I care. I'm an everyday man. I'm going for it. Enough is enough. I have the right intentions. I just want to serve my country. And then you have people who go in that ultimately just want power, fame, prestige, money, whatever it is, right? And then you have people that go in with good intentions and then they just get corrupted. So it's a slippery slope. And like you said, it's not going to be, that people say that to me a lot. It's a blood sport. Well, it's a blood sport on the surface, but yeah, once you actually, if you ever get into it, it's far worse. It's a deep, dark rabbit hole, put it that way. And I can only imagine. Yeah, I don't know. There's so much corruption, right? And this is where I'm very curious to see what happens. We were talking about the UK and Tommy Robinson. I'm super curious to see what's happening with their, is it May 23rd? It's coming up here pretty quick. I think they're the EU elections anyway. That should be interesting as well.
Yeah, I think it's May.
We follow a lot of their patterns. It seems sometimes like there's a lot of canary in the coal mines. I know Ezra said that about Tommy, that Tommy we need to listen to him because he's a canary in the coal mine. And like you were saying, you got to have some sort of a will to stand up. And what's bothering me is like, what's it going to take? Like in the UK, you still have people that aren't standing up, even though there are these horrible grooming gangs and there's just horrible stuff going on. And it's like, what's it going to take for everyone to say, okay, maybe this guy was right and I'm going to stand up. It seems like right now everyone's in this outraged, polarized mode where they'd rather just find the enemy wrong no matter what, even if it's to their own detriment and their own death. They'd rather just go down saying this guy's a monster than just say, you know what, maybe he wasn't a monster after all. And that's going to be, our downfall as a society is just this stubbornness and inability to admit when things are kind of going awry. So I don't know what it's going to take for Canada's public. I mean, God, we have so much apathy here. The
apathy was I think maybe by design, right? Because apathy breeds sloth. Right.
Yeah.
You have, and then the fear, right? Because people are so tied to their collective things, to their jobs, which is their bread and butter. Keep the roof over the house, keep kids fed. And the fear that these people have used against you is monumental. So people are afraid to speak up. But, and again, I like to always reference movies because there's a lot of truth in movies. There was a movie called The Power of One. It's an old one with a young white South African who grows up, and the old teacher tells him a waterfall starts with but one drop. And really, what we need is a waterfall, right? To get people to come out. And the thing is, you could, unless it's on your lawn, unless stuff is happening right in front of you, people are not really going to tend to react because they're always going to look, well, it's not too close to me yet. It's not too close to me yet. But when it's like me in my community, what used to be a Greek community had turned almost Chinese in 3 years to a completely Chinese community. Now it's morphing into an Indian Muslim community where the Chinese are fleeing. Well, then, when I see it visually, I see it happening. And some people may not see it because it's a slow burn rate. And one way to balance yourself, I'm assuming, I think you're doing well. I hope you get elected. If I could vote for you, if I was in your area, I would send you 100 votes because I know I can get it. 100%.
I appreciate that.
but you know, if you get into office, my advice would be to balance yourself from the evils from out. Balance yourself from within with your community. Keep tying yourself to that community. Keep that bond strong. And they're going to rebalance you, because I think these politicians, they get into politics. Oh, everything, you know, I was just watching a documentary again today on AOC, on Justin Trouble's channel. And they were talking about how AOC was going around in the Bronx and she was doing a lot of meetings with them. Oh, yeah, you know, I'm really for you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then meanwhile, she's getting gold bidets and luxury accommodations in Washington. So she's far removed. And, you know, maybe, I'm not saying that she has, but maybe there were some good intentions there, but they're far gone now. She's lost her connections, her base. Yeah. And it's always important to bring yourself to, you know, put the wholesome in you and meet with your people and say, hey guys, I'm rebalanced myself. And I think that's important. I think even when you're like overworked, you need to rebalance, sit yourself down and just let your mind percolate.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good advice, good wisdom. Thank you. It really does come down to staying grounded, being very, very, very strong and very grounded in who you are, what you believe in. My faith is going to be a big part of this. You know, staying close to my congregation, close to my community, close to my you know, very, very, very humble job, community, just all of that, right? If you just let it change you, yeah, it can be really quick. You can spiral really quickly, right? So no, it's very good advice. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no. So I just wanted to bring up one thing too, because I know Jesus kept bringing it up in the chat a little bit earlier, and I knew I put it in the title as well. So I figured, you know, I should comply to this. But there was a little while ago this girl, and you know, I keep seeing this stuff happening, and I'm sure you guys have too, where these leftists keep like re-examining history. And then all these things that were, you know, statues now have to be taken down. And this one girl right here, I'll share the link, one sec. But this girl, Lilian Gish, or whatever, should a great actor be judged by a racist film? So I don't know if you guys heard about this, but this, I don't know, this actress, I guess she had a statue put up, and it turns out that she was in a movie that was racist. And she's not racist herself. And even the director made a bunch of movies that were like anti-racist later on. But just for the fact that he made this racist movie that, you know, she needs to be taken down. Her statue needs to be removed because
so she was just the actress?
Yeah, she was just the actress.
So she was playing a role, and she now is considered racist by connection?
So Lilian Gish, yeah, the first lady of American cinema. So the first lady of American cinema starred in more than 100 films between 1912 and 1987, including greats such as Broken Blossoms, The Night of the Hunter, and pioneered many of the techniques essential to cinema acting. Blah, blah. Trustees, Student Union, Ohio have voted unanimously to remove the name of Gish and her sister Dorothy from the university cinema because of one film that she appeared in, the notoriously racist The Birth of a Nation. So apparently this makes me want to watch this movie now. Like that's all this reading this article made me want to do is watch The Birth of a Nation, because I'm like, what? Why is this so racist?
So let me tell you about Birth. Let me tell you about Birth of a Nation, because I've seen it.
Okay.
And so Birth of a Nation, without going into the plot of which you can read about on Wikipedia, there's an article thing. It came at a time when the Ku Klux Klan was kind of on the decline in the US. But the Birth of a Nation, it very much glorified the lifestyle, the Klan. You see the guys in the robes on their horses coming over the crest of the hill. Basically it had black people looking really terrible. But it was basically white guys in blackface playing the role. And it basically made the Ku Klux Klan look super cool. So it kind of sparked a resurgence in the Klan. So that is one of the reasons why it's looked at in such a terrible way. You should look for it and watch it. You can find it online, I'm sure.
Yeah, like I'm just interested.
Like I always say, you know, you should make your own mind up. But I mean, it right. And I think Kel said it's a weird movie, and it isn't a good movie. It's just weird. I thought the same thing. Just thought it was very strange. I totally disagree, however, with this person, this Lilian Gish, being demonized for participating in this thing. Because a lot of the people after the fact who were part of that movie said that they didn't know what the whole thing was going to be about. They didn't really, they filmed their scene and did their thing. I don't know what her role was. It's been a while since I watched the movie. It's been a few years. So I don't remember exactly. First time I've heard of her name was tonight. But I wouldn't demonize her for that. I mean, geez, it's like that lady we talked about a few weeks ago who was singing this song that was actually a parody on the racist attitudes of the day, but now it's being pulled from, you know, sporting contest where she was a part of it. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. I don't remember her name either, but it's the context that's being left out of things. And even with the statues that are being taken down. I mean, the thing that's crazy to me about in the U.S. in particular, I won't speak to the Canadian one, but to the U.S. in particular, it's just crazy to me the statues are put up in the first place because the rebels were anti-American. They were trying to split from the country. They were rebels. They were traitors to the United States. So it's crazy to me that the statues are put up in the first place. These weren't people who believed in America. They believed in breaking off to do their own thing. But anyways, fine. Put some context around it so that if you don't want to have a split like that, and again in this terrible civil war, then never again. Like, teach people about what led to this and what we're going to do it for it. What are we going to do to avoid it? So I think that the context is missing. It's very much becoming this ridiculously childish black and white issue when there's a lot of nuance that as adults we need to, you know, be adults and say, hey, there's more to the story. And I think the easiest way to do it is just to say, look, none of us, all of our crap stinks. Like, as adults, as people, where none of us are perfect. So let's not demonize somebody when a mistake is made, because you've made a mistake too. There's nuance to that. There's reasons why you did that, for good or bad. Fair enough. Let's talk about it. And those conversations are
like this is like, I've heard there's a gal that I kind of got to know a bit through YouTube. She's been on my channel. Her name is Gracie West. She goes by Embarrassing Mom. She has a channel down in the States, and she's an ex-feminist. She did the whole gender studies thing, all of it. And she talks now a lot. She's written a book about the cult of social justice and the religion of progressivism. And, you know, you talk about, like, they just demonize these people over one thing. It's like, there's this group of people that say, okay, this was a sin, this is a sin, this person's sinning, and therefore anybody who's associated with any of these things in whatever this group's mind, you know, they'll eat their own, right? They'll even, like, I just watched a video today. It was regarding that Morgan Auger, and she had taken a group of activists to shout down this other trans person, and it was a trans person that was speaking out against SOGI, like the kids curriculum. So basically teaching all this stuff to children. It's also a position that like Ellie, the trans YouTuber, she also takes that position. Like, I don't think that we should be messing with children. So this person was just trying to give their position, and they're actually a trans person, and there's all these trans people and LGBTQ people in the audience, like, screaming at this person and shouting them down and playing music, and they're yelling shame, shame, shame. And that's something I hear a lot: shame, shame, shame. And we're now at the point where, like, this is like a religion, shaming people and excommunicating them. And like you said, it's, you know, so now someone she made how many movies her whole life because she was in this one movie and didn't even know much about it. Now she's considered a shameful person, and we need to erase her from history, as opposed to, like you said, showing some context, teach what makes something good or bad, have a discussion about it, talk about how racism was rampant and we need to not do that anymore. I don't know why, like, when I learned about, didn't they pull To Kill a Mockingbird as well? Like, I remember that book was really educational, but I mean, I don't know. I just feel like we're trying to whitewash things to make them, everything's perfect and it's going to be perfect in the future. It's going to be utopia, and it wasn't in the past, so we're going to pretend that it was. Well, what the hell does that do anybody? That doesn't teach anyone anything. It's so ridiculous. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish with this. Like, what do they think is going to happen?
Right. Well, you know, I'm just thinking it's just, these are just a bunch of Marxists because of just this one line right here in the article, right? So, like, right here, she's like, for Black American cinema to flourish, it may be necessary to confront and dismantle this revered text. You know, so they need to dismantle it, look at it from a different angle, and get rid of it. But you know, so a report by the university concluded that while there is no suggestion that the Gish sisters ever espouse racist causes themselves, Lilian never distanced herself from the film or its directors, and further, she represents the face of Aryanism in the movies. So she's like, oh, she didn't condemn them completely, so that's bad. That's good enough to get her, you know, removed from there. But you know, it's just one of these bullshit causes. Like, yeah, I get it. It's a bad movie and stuff, but this is all they have to fight for nowadays. It seems like there's no actual causes of discrimination to a large. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. Discrimination doesn't happen. It does, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be, that they have to go and like, oh, let's find things to be mad about from 100 years ago. Oh, this woman was in a movie 100 years ago. Okay,
I'm angry. I'm so angry now. Like, why? Do you have nothing else to do? Is that you just have to be angry? I'm done being angry about this thing, so now I have to be angry about this thing. Like you said, and same with Me Too. All these things. There's not that there's no problem. It's that they actually just make it so that when there is a real problem, everyone's cried wolf so many bloody times, you don't actually help the real people that are suffering. I don't think this is doing any good to people that are having trouble with anything from sexual assault and rape to racism at all. Like, I really don't. I think if you call everything a hate crime, if speech is violence and somebody saying anything is just racist, then what happens when someone actually has an actual racist hate crime? Do they just get ignored because people are so sick of hearing it and it's become completely desensitized? Like, if you're calling Steve Crowder a Nazi, what do you do when an actual Nazi comes by, right? Like, it's so ridiculous.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Nazi.
Yep. When people take these terms, Nazi, hate, and they use them so much, they lose their meaning. Like when I hear people just throw around words like hate, they just lose me, because I'm just like, there's no nuance there. Like, they throw out these terms with such force, these bombs, these like words that are basically nuclear bombs in the English language, and then it's like, okay, but where do we go from here? Like, it's a term that shuts down the conversation. Because because if you say anything that well maybe. And all of a sudden, oh, you're a Nazi? Like, it's completely binary there. Like, there's no nuance. Precisely. Nobody wants to, right? So it's just crazy. But that's a strategy. That's a tactic that is used to shut down conversations for normal, polite people who I don't want to be a Nazi. I don't want to be hateful. And then you find yourself defending yourself.
Canadians, we don't want to be rude, and nobody wants shame yelled at you. So like, okay, I'll just say something nice and I won't say a word. It's really sad. People get essentially gaslit and abused, emotionally abused into shutting up, out of fear of crucifixion.
It's in-group mechanics. It's the power of social thought, right? It's everybody wants to be a part of the group, and nobody wants to be seen as the ostracized idiot or and this is what people turn these other people into, right? Even though they may be highly intelligent, have a high IQ, but if the group feels in any part of the way that you're not, going to toe the party line, I would say, then you are out. And I mean, you can see this on the schoolyard. And this is just another tactic of Marxists. I've seen it personally, where you would not only attack the books, but you'd attack the history, and then you attack the social paradigms. But as long as there's a good number of people that push back, then that can always be kept at bay. I think the best form of this kind of assault on people is mockery. Laugh them off. Right. I mean, because before we used to laugh at these people. We'd make jokes on stage, and now that's why they're trying to stifle comedy. So
yeah,
I think it's mockery is really one of the best defenses.
But it was also, like I was gonna say, like you were saying, like mockery and stuff is a good way of exposing truth too, right? Like to the masses through comedy and stuff. But I think we'll probably end in about 10 or so minutes. I want to bring up a few more things, probably just for maybe like shits and giggles and stuff. And also, yeah, I want to address your super chat, Fredrick, even though it was a snooty fucking comment. Happy birthday, AJ. Enjoy it, old man. I'm not old. Not yet. I'm getting there, though.
Yeah, how old are you, AJ, again?
42.
Baloney.
46.
Bologna.
I'm just, I just look young for my age. Trust me, I'm 46. No, I'm 30.
I'm just a dapper 50-year-old. You're 30? 30?
Yeah,
This is like a decade birthday. This is a big deal, hey? Wow.
Big deal. But I don't like birthdays, to be honest. I don't really care about them. I'm not a big birthday guy. I'm just like, don't get me anything. Usually people are like, what do you want? I'm like, I don't want anything. Like, don't get me anything. Like I'd rather that, right? I don't know, a card or something. That's good, but
oh, you're old-fashioned. Yeah, I give everyone cards. I still would go to like the dollar store and get a card and fill it out. And Steve's like, no one does that anymore. I was like, well, you got to do the cards. There's something nice about getting a card. I don't know. I'm old school.
Which reminds me, I need to buy a couple cards for Mother's Day tomorrow as I take my my mother out for something.
Yeah.
Although my wife did not want to share a Mother's Day dinner with my mother because she feels she deserves her own Mother's Day, which is true. So on Friday, I had the pleasure of taking my wife out for a Mother's Day date. And then I still have the dinner booked tomorrow. So my wallet is empty. But yes, it's gonna be great.
Oh my God. Well, I got a few more pictures I just want to share before we take off, just to kind of laugh at. In 1 sec here. I got some from Reddit. So, well, this one's not really laugh at.
I saw that on Twitter.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I've seen that.
You can buy swag. You can buy like a phone cover that's two dudes having sex. So that's classy.
Yeah.
So classy, this is San Diego.
This is like little kids are walking by this and they're like, "Mommy, Daddy, what's that?"
So that subway station is Wellesley Station, which is like the central station in kind of the central gay district of Toronto. Wellesley Church and Wellesley
or a subway.
That's a subway station.
So I didn't know that was actually on a wall. I thought it was just a website or an advertisement.
That is it. If you look at the top of the photo, you'll see Wellesley, and that's that's Young and Wellesley, and so a couple blocks east of that is Church and Wellesley, which is like the central gay village here in Toronto.
Right.
And so I don't take the subway that much very often. I work from home. I don't really leave my house anymore. But when I did have to commute into the city and take the subway, I'd pass that station all the time. There's been ads like that for well over a decade at that station. Well over a decade. But at that station, you don't really see them anywhere else.
The sex you want, it's like that could be a lot of shit, but it's fun. I just love how it's all interracial. I just love that. It's like,
well, hey, it's diversity. Literally different shades. Like if you go back to it, you got the white guy, you got the
slightly
in the middle guy, and then
black.
It's a very diverse orgy. That's very true. Good for Toronto.
There you go.
What is this?
There you
this
go.
One
and not even one-on-one. Just like you got three people there. Got the Paula Morley there. Checking all the boxes.
I have never been so grateful to live in a small town in northern Saskatchewan. Honestly, it has nothing to do. I said this on Twitter. It has nothing to do with them even being homosexuals. I would feel the same if it was some like kind of scuzzy like website. I thought it was just a website. Now I see. I saw the website and it said you can get swag, and there was a cell phone cover and a T-shirt, and they were one of them was that picture, and then one of them was a picture of a guy like clearly behind another guy on his knees, and it was like a cell phone cover, and I was like, oh, I guess you could buy that, and I didn't know the context, but I just said, it's quite scuzzy regardless of your sexual orientation. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's very classy, like I said, very classy.
I 100% agree with you on that. If that was a heterosexual couple or threesome with that kind of thing, I would have an opposition to that too, because it's a public place. It's not just like people just passing by on the train who want nothing to do with that station.
Right.
That's on your way downtown to go to work, so it's like it's 2 stops away. So you're gonna see that whether you want to or not. You're going to the Jays game or Leafs game or Raptors game, go Raptors, and geez, you're gonna pass that every time. So anyways, what's the next photo?
Yeah. So this is just a cute photo. That's made me laugh.
Can you go back to it? Oh, there we go.
why are you proud to be an American? Because I live here, I get to see the ocean and eat fruit. And when I see the flag, I think of Donald Trump, and I like him.
Yay. Bigly.
It sounds like my son.
Just adorable. Like, oh my God. And I like him. I think.
Too bad that poor kid's probably going to get yelled shame, shame, shame by a bunch of protesters because they have no limits.
He'll be black-pilled or like 12 or something. He'll just be like some black pill.
Oh my God. Soph Part 2.
Right.
I was just going to say it'll be like that kid Soph, yeah.
His parents will get a kid a call from the school.
Right. No, but there's also this, and this is an actual book, How to Destroy a Man Now. How to Destroy a Man Now. It's like, I bought this book because I wanted to believe it was not real. It's a book teaching women how to destroy a man's reputation in corporate America by filing false claims against him in a methodical and calculated way, mostly false sexual harassment claims. It was allegedly written by a psychology doctor. This is probably the sickest display of feminism in the Me Too movement I have seen. So that's pretty fucked up.
Wow.
You know, if a woman needs
that
a
is a real book.
on how to
It's on
destroy
Amazon.
a man, sorry. Yeah, I was saying if a woman needs a book on how to destroy a man, you're pretty freaking low on the totem pole for IQ.
This is honestly, I'm like, I hate hearing about toxic masculinity because I know that there is jerks out there. I've had bad experiences with men myself, but when it comes to this whole idea of like toxic femininity, that is so real. It's so real.
Right.
Even goes back to this whole sex strike thing right there. There's a lot of talk that it's the conservative men that are bad. It's the conservative men. And honestly, I really do find that in my experience, conservative men have been far more respectful to me than more liberal leaning men have in general. I don't know. That's maybe my experience, but all of this, like when it comes to this,
It's true. We are.
I don't know. I really do feel that way. Like I've had, it's a different, maybe more traditional. I don't know. All I know is, I couldn't disagree more with the idea that conservative men are oppressing women and they want to oppress women. And I don't know, I really don't feel like I've been disrespected as a YouTuber. I'm going into politics. Men have been pretty okay with it. I haven't had any issues at all. And if I have, it's not because it's sexist. It's just because when you get in politics, people call you names. That's just how this works. I hate that women want the best of both worlds. I'm so strong and I'm so tough. I can do anything a man does. But then when they get talked to like a man, they're like, oh, it's sexist. It's sexist. It's like, well, no, you just put yourself in the game. And I don't know. All of this, like the Me Too thing is such a mess because those sexual assault, like false allegations and claims can ruin someone's entire bloody life. And I see these women that just don't care. It's absolutely horrifying. That's so awful.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I have a different like little clip here. And there was another story I was trying to look for before where this guy helped a woman with a car and then she later accused him of sexually assaulting her. Like he literally helped her for 2 hours to fix her vehicle. And it was all caught on camera. Yep. And then she later accused him of like stalking her and doing all this shit. And then he was put in jail for 2 weeks and is filing for divorce with his wife. And she lied about it. And this is another thing. A 16-year-old girl lied that she was sexually assaulted in the bus. The 62-year-old man she pointed at was beaten to death. Police watched CCTV. She clearly made it up, right? So it's like, you know, like, see, this is the fucking consequences of women reading books like this shit. Oh, well, this is it's all a game. I'm gonna lie about this guy sexually assaulting me in university and ruin his prospects for life. And people will be like, oh, it's so minuscule, the amount of false accusations compared to the real ones, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't diminish it happening or it being a problem. And I'm pretty sure it's a lot fucking worse than what the numbers are stating per se, right? But like, nonetheless, it doesn't diminish it happening either way, right? But I love that like response to it, like, oh, but it's so minuscule, the amount of false allegations. Yet we keep seeing all these false allegations like every fucking day. And we're like,
and then there's the little ones that don't make the news too. There's all the little things that women say that men do, and all of the arguments that women call cops over where a man didn't really do anything. All the times a woman claims abuse where it's not actually, and then the woman beats the crap out of him, beats him, scratches him. You know, like it's honestly, it sucks because there's some really good women out there, there's some really good men out there, and bad and bad and, you know, men, bad women as well. It's not, you can't just put this all in one gender. It drives me crazy too, because it makes it hard for good women that don't treat their men like garbage, because men have been so sort of like abused in this regard, and they're so leery just because of these stories that they've heard. And it's scary. They don't want to always get married or move in with someone because they're like, well, hey, you could screw me over. And if it's either like a Me Too sexual assault thing, or there's a lot of women that are just in it for money, or screw the guy out of money as soon as they legally can be you know, on the paperwork, right? Then suddenly they just leave. And like, it's really, it's understandable that men are so, I understand why there's this like MGTOW movement or whatever happening. Like, it's a symptom of a lot of sickness between our genders. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I definitely understand that it's a symptom of something much bigger, right?
Those guys are the MGTOWs are, I don't buy into that movement, but there will be, and Chris, we were going to talk about this last week about that guy who married a hologram. Yeah. You want to show that? Because
I'll dig it up while you're talking.
Right. So with the growing advent, because you know what is this creating? I see it in the office, like because a lot of my management now are females, and for the most part, I get along with them. I tend to get along with the ones that have a lot of brothers, and just act more like the guys, and they're fun to be with. But the ones that didn't, or single mothers or whatever, they just seem always kind of grumpy and want to micromanage. But a lot of guys are always kind of like, I noticed they're unwilling to talk over because they're afraid of, being called out. Oh, you've spoken over me, or so there's this intensity between the two sexes. Yeah. And you're going to see this as men are saying, nah, I don't want to get involved with that. I just don't. And women are like, yeah, I just want to ruin a man's life. And then they complain that they can't find a woman. The future is technology, because we can just create our own little robot companions. And as Chris is queuing up, there's this man who actually fell in love with the hologram. And this is serious. I thought this was a parody, but go ahead, play it there, Chris. I see you got it queued up.
It's playing now. So it's basically, so what you see is, I'll just do a little commentary here. So he's giving his vows, he's saying that they're married.
Oh, wow, they got a cake and everything. Good for them.
Everything. So that doll is the physical representation of, I think her name is Hatsune. And there she is. That's the real thing. You see the hologram there. She's bowing and saying, hi, hello, welcome back home from work. Huh? You can order food because I don't have hands to make it. So anyways, he's got this cool hologram thing. It's a 35K. Cool hologram thing. And so he's got like a Japanese body pillow, I guess, which is bed. And so he's
okay. Well, to each their own.
And by the way, just 1 second. Let's take a step back here in this video. Man, I should do a video about this.
Oh, she wearing some lingerie there?
Hey, what does he do for a living? School administrator. Oh, I saw he worked in your child's school in Japan.
Okay, that's extremely racist.
Yeah,
can't do that on my channel.
Well, it's not my channel, so I can say whatever I want.
Yeah. So, that's a good time to end this right now. By end this, I mean your life. No.
Oh, now we got threats of violence too. It's all going downhill.
I'm in a video game.
Oh, he's got rings. He's got multiple sizes. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Workplace bullying by a female superior 10 years ago drove him to this, by the way. Yep. 3,700 marriage certificates his hologram companies made. So he's not the only one.
He's not.
This is why women should not vote.
As he gets into his bunk bed with his wife. So explain this bunk bed to me. Like, let's analyze this bunk bed situation. What the heck is why? Why is there a bunk bed here? Why not just like
didn't a girl I saw the other day a girl married herself and then she cheated on herself like 2 weeks later.
I guess she could. I guess she couldn't handle the sex strike or something. I don't know.
You know, this
maybe she put herself on a sex strike. And she
like, wasn't there a Family Guy episode where Peter marries a piece of pie? Like, that's what this feels like. Are we getting there? Are we getting there?
We're beyond there. We're beyond there. We're beyond there.
Yeah, I think we are actually beyond that, to be honest. But
yeah,
I think I'm gonna end it pretty soon, guys, because it's getting about 11 o'clock. It's been about 2.5 hours. I think that's a good length at this moment. Right. But I missed that last part, Fredrick. What'd you say?
No, I was just laughing. I was just laughing with the comment about Peter. I watch a lot of Family Guy, so yeah. I remember that episode.
He eats the pie and then he cancels the marriage, I believe is what happens.
Yeah.
I'm sure Lois was very happy about this situation.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all for joining us, guys. It was a great time. Thank you all for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Kelly and Fredrick, for the donation. Chris didn't get me anything because he's cheap.
Yep,
and
I am. I got kids. I got to spend money. I have to do 2 Mother's Day things, man. Come on.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I get it. You know, it's Mother's Day. My birthday occasionally falls on Mother's Day. Kind of sucks occasionally, but I'll give you a pass this time, Chris. Next time I'll expect something though. And
if it makes you feel any better, my birthday is 4 days after Christmas, so I've had multiple decades of getting completely screwed at Christmas time.
Yeah, my brother's birthday is on the 24th of Christmas, or December. So
he knows what it's all about then.
Yeah. It's even worse than you. But thank you everybody else for the donations and the birthday wishes once again, and coming by the show, participating and contributing. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you all have a great night. Take it easy.
You as well. Night, guys.